Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vault Dwellers Podcast. I am your host, MrMac. With me, as always, Gary Moore. Gary, how's it going?
Episode 18. Here we go. We've actually got our special guest with us again. Who just took a sabbatical last episode because he does like anime or something like that. And we've also got our main stain, Hoods. How are you, Hoodie?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Long time listener, first time caller. Very excited to be here. Do hate anime. Just kidding. For the people who love anime, please don't. I'm sorry.
You can send your write-ins to Gary, as we always direct all the write-ins. We always direct them at Gary. Gary enjoys ignoring everybody, so he's more than welcome. He has no guilt, so feel free to send everything and anything over to Gary. Well, it's fantastic to have everybody back here. It has been a fair wee while actually since we last recorded as a full group. Everything's things have been getting in the way, and obviously we recorded that last episode. We did the anime episode because obviously we did the My Hero Academia season 1, and we went to season 2. So fancied getting that uploaded, and pretty good episode. Really enjoyed it, but it was a few weeks ago now. As we often try to do, we try and release something every month. We were going for a wee while every second week, but it's just time permitting that is able to be done. And we're going to shake things up a wee bit once again, as we always do in the Vault Dwellers. We always like to try new things, so please bear with us on this episode. But we're going to try our hands at a little bit of bringing topics to the table. You've probably seen it being iterated and done on other things as well. But we are going to try our spin, because we've come up with so many different ideas, loads of different ideas for episodes, but not all of them work entirely as a full episode in how we see it. So we're going to bring some of them in a smaller form, conversation setting between the three of us. And again, like I said, just bear with us as we try and work our way through these episodes. If there's any kind of topic that you're looking to discuss, or you want to leave a comment on some of the things we've discussed about, then head over to YouTube or DM one of us, and I'm sure we'll be able to kind of go back and forward on that. So before we get to that, though, as we always do, Gary's favourite segment of what have we been playing. Oh, I nearly forgot. Contractually, we're obliged to shout out Rahul a hoop. So Rahul, this is your shout out.
Let's go.
Let's go indeed. Rahul actually DM'd me about this after the last episode, because I forget the stuff that we do. I genuinely do, and it was only like 2 days later or something like that. And he was like, "Oh man, I absolutely love that shout out. It would be totally on brand if I forgot to do the shout out the first week after he said that he really loves the shout out." So I'm glad that I looked at these well put out notes. Otherwise, I would have absolutely forgot. So, So shout out to you, Rahul. As we've said, Rahul is a lawyer. He was actually on a video game quiz episode at the very, very start of the year. So if you haven't checked that out, do so, because it's one of our absolute best. You should go and watch that. Absolutely. Hoodie is bang on the money with that one. So thanks very much, Rahul. Appreciate you. Weekly shout out achieved. Take that one off the box. Gary Moore.
Can I just ask before you start?
Yes.
What do we usually do here at Vault Dwellers Podcast?
Don't fucking try and spin things up me. I don't put that on. See, in the last 3 episodes, you'll actually watch the last 3 episodes. I don't even fucking introduce myself, okay?
Oh, for God's sake.
So don't spin things on the spot at
18 episodes in, and we're fucking going down the pan already. What did you expect?
There's not even a thing in your fucking notes about doing that. What is the Vault Dwellers? So don't fucking start.
Yeah, the Vault Dwellers Podcast. We're 3 friends with a 10-year dream in the making.
That's it. If you somebody watched the Vault Dwellers before and that wasn't enough to make you switch it off, I don't know what is. So thanks very much for watching. But yes, generally we are 3 friends that's come together to do our best efforts. We are a 10-year, this is a 10-year dream in the making of coming together and putting up this podcast out into the globe. And like I said at the start, we've got loads of different things to talk about. So the episodes that we've done so far is, mostly video game centric. We are a video game, the backbone of our podcast is a video game centric podcast. Hence why we start even an episode that almost has nothing to do with video games with what we've been playing. We do enjoy that. It's our comfort zone indeed.
Definitely.
So
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's next week. So check out the catalogue so far. I'm sure there'll be something in there for everybody. But generally, it's three friends bringing a whole host of different things to the table, and I'm sure there'll be something in the catalogue or coming forward for everybody. So please check us out. If this works, and it should be on video, although occasionally we have to post a wee bit of an audio podcast. So again, we're amateurs. We're fucking making that as we go along. We're only 18 episodes deep. Give us a break. Right, okay, Gary, finally, if it suits you, sir, please, what have you been playing?
Mr. Mac, can I just say that was so eloquently put. You did such a perfect job introducing us all there. It was just fantastic. A big round of applause for Mr. Mac. Clap, 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 clap. Right, what have we been playing? My favourite segment. Here we go. Right, so it's been a wee while since we last did this. Probably about 4 weeks ago, maybe. So it's been quite a lot. Strap yourselves in. So the first game that I played and completed was Saints Row. Can I just say, like, if you've not played this game, you're not missing anything. I was actually surprised because I remember it come out and everybody was moaning about it, but I never really watched a review or anything like that. So I played about half of it, and then I was like, I'm going to look at the reviews to see what people were saying about this game. And people were saying, like, it doesn't feel like a Saints Row game. And I'm thinking to myself, this feels exactly like a Saints Row game. This is what I remember Saints Row games feeling like. They're just like, I don't know, they're just no great at all. I just never, Saints Row is just not really a thing that I really like. So I don't know why. I just thought, give this a go. But I tried. The story was alright. Some of the characters, some of the main missions are actually alright. The set pieces and stuff like that. But it just feels it's a pure AA game, and it's like a 7 out of 10. That's what I would have gave it. Like that's about as good a review I could get. There you go.
Does it have the same kind of personality that the other ones had, or does it feel like a rebrand?
No, it doesn't. I think the other Saints Row games felt a wee bit more dirtier and a wee bit like tongue-in-cheek humour and stuff like that. And I don't think that's really in here. It is in little bits, but no as grand as what it used to be. It feels like they've tried to be more realistic, but it's not realistic. But they've tried to go more in the realism kind of way, but it's just still doesn't feel like it fits this Saints Row-ish feeling. I think like Saints Row was known for like having big dildo bats and stuff like that.
Yeah,
all these stupid like one of your characters is a superhero in one of the Saints Row. Like that's all gone. It's just literally like shooting. It's just shooting now. And you can do melee, but the melee is rubbish as well. That's one of the things. The combat in this game is probably the worst point of it. I see the racing and stuff like that. The racing, I was like, the racing's quite good, and some of the side missions, I was like, are no bad. There's like a towing mission, like you tow, like it's not just like cars, but it can be like those like art pieces and stuff like that, which would be like a big ball. So it was like a wrecking ball behind your car, and you have to try and get it to somewhere without it getting like wrecked and stuff. So some of that kind of stuff was good, but it was the missions that you're actually getting in, and it was like, oh, here's like a room full of guys, you need to kill them all. And I was like, this is like the worst part of this game. And for a shooter, that's not what you want to hear.
It sounds like you're going for the platinum.
Not at all. Oh. I'm usually a pure like no completionist as in a platinum, but I'm a completionist as like all side missions, all side quests. And see, this game, I got to a point and I was like, I'm just going to mainline this, and I think that just says to me everything about this game. It's just like, nah, man. So that was Saints Row. It's one of the games. See, if there's nothing else gone, and you've got like 2 weeks to play it. I completed it in 19 hours. There's probably about another 10 hours maybe left. if you want to complete everything, maybe no platinum, but if you want to complete all the main side missions and stuff, that's probably another 10 hours left. But it's one of the games, if you really want to pick it up, deep sale kind of thing. That's what I would say anyway. Another game that I started right after Saints Row, because Saints Row put me in a bad mood, so I decided to put on God of War Ragnarok. And I have to say, this game is fantastic. Absolutely loving it.
Shocking.
Oh, it's so good. I'm 22 hours in, I think. I think that's where I'm about. And this game just has so many twists in it that I didn't really see coming. And it's hard not to talk about spoilers, you know.
Yeah.
It's just really good. It's just so good. And I feel like I'm just starting to get into the game, you know. That's a weird thing to say, like 20 years in. But it definitely feels that way. I think we haven't gone into spoilers, but I need to kind of touch on it. It does make you play as like a different character, and I'm a wee bit like, I don't know if I'm into this so much. Maybe I'll get into it more as it goes along, but I kind of feel like I'm playing God of War to be Kratos. That's what I kind of feel like when I'm playing this so far.
I'll tell you what, when I was playing it and something happens, that was the moment it clicked where I was like, God, this game is so great. This game has so many different things going for it, and it all works and it all feels coherent. And the way that they do the tracking shot or the one take throughout the entire game, like, wow, how they pull that off in different ways is really astonishing. But I think the best compliment I've ever given this game is that I have never played a game in my life that felt like an odyssey. And this is one that is just a full-on odyssey. It's not a, destination game. It's a whole adventure, and everything in it pulls that world together where it all feels tight and strong and meaningful. That I think is an accomplishment in and of itself, to make something that big feel oddly enough small, which is just incredible.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect way to put it. It's such a good journey. As I said, I'm 20 years in, so I think the game's 30 or 40. I think the main story, it's something like that. I believe. So I'm halfway. I'm about halfway through, and I'm absolutely loving this. I love how, if you've ever played the first one, it's got like that 9 realms bit with like the water with the big sea serpent and stuff like that, and how that's changed in Ragnarok, and it's all like a snow place and stuff, and it's just so good. It's just so good to actually revisit some of these places that you maybe did you seen in the first game, but it just opens it up even more. But I need to put a wee bit of criticism in the game. One thing that I've found in this game, there's been a lot of glitches. I've had a lot of glitches with this game. I was really surprised. I've had a good few. I had one where Atreus kept just saying the same word over everybody's, like, I mean, everybody, if everybody's played the God of War, it's all about, like, you go to this level and it's about your building story, and somebody's basically telling you the story as you're playing it. So I was doing this mission, and the guy kept trying to tell me the part of this story, and he's like, "Oh, and this is where the elves," and then Atreus would go, "There's a side over there." And I was like, "What?" And it like cut the guy off, and he doesn't go back to it. He doesn't go back to the conversation. So I was like, that was like a wee glitch here. And I walked up a wee bit further, and he just went to speak again, and it happened again. And I was like, "Oh, this is so annoying. I've missed like 2 bits of plot for this entire level." It was just really annoying. I turned it off and turned it back on, and it did it, but it fixed itself. But I've had a few. I've had a bit of clipping. I've had a bit of my Kratos got stuck as well, and I had to completely turn the game off, turn it back on. It got stuck in just nothing. Like, I was literally just stuck. I've had a few glitches in this game, but it's a massive game, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It's not like they're game breaking or nothing like that. But it's God of War. If you like the first one, I'm sure you're going to love this one, because it just continues. That's another thing to say. It's weird to say that this game's a sequel, but this game is like a true sequel like to the first game or the 2018 game. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you say it's a sequel, but like it's an upgraded version, or they've made new different things and stuff like that. But this is just like a true sequel. It literally starts off with where you ended in 2018, and it just feels exact same. I actually like it at a point when you're Kratos, you're talking to the wee dwarfs in the armory, and I was like buying like, I don't know, about a chest for my armor, and then I was buying it, and the wee guy goes like, "Where's all that stuff that you had? Like we gave you the last time?" And he's like, "I've used it." And I was like, "Oh, that's fine." Like he's just told me what's happened to it. Oh, like that's it. It's used. He's used it. Oh, that's why you've not got any of your upgrades and stuff like that again. I was like, fair enough. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I can't wait to keep going. And just because I'm mental, I had another game as well. This one, still WWE 2K22. I seen 2K23 came out, and I thought, you know what, I've not played 2K22, so I bought that for the cheap. I don't know if I like this game. There's just something about WWE games that they just can't find like the right recipe for greatness with the wrestling games. I'm doing the My Rise. I've not even played any of the other bits, so I can't speak to that. I'm only playing the My Career, if you like, and it's just so like, I don't know. It makes it feel like a video game. Whereas I think the best kind of wrestling games were the ones that was like you're ranked 20, keep fighting and get better, and it had wee bits of story mixed in where you had to just try and get to the championship. This one, it's kind of just like, oh, there's a person there, press X to talk to them. They'll just go, oh, can you put this guy through a table? Oh, that would be good. I'll give you 300 points if you do that. And it's like, it just isn't what I was looking for. I was just kind of looking for something a bit more, not realistic. No, it's hard to say realistic in a WWE game, but just something a bit more open. It just feels pure arcadey. That's the way I would describe it. The fighting itself's alright, but again, like with the other games, it's been quite glitchy as well. Loading times in this game is ridiculous for a PlayStation 5 game. I timed it. I timed it the day to see how long they're taking. Some of the loading screens were taking up to 25 seconds. I was like, this is ridiculous in a PlayStation 5. Like this shouldn't be happening. God, you know what it was like with Spider-Man. I know that's a Sony first party game and stuff like that, but it was literally like Spider-Man. You could press resume activity, and it would be like, boom, you're in the game exactly where you were. No loading, no nothing, and this is just, I don't know. But I'm still keen at a go. I like to always have a wee sports game on the side just for my kind of 10-20 minute plays. So I'm just going to keep going with it and see how it goes. But I know that's a bit lengthy. Sorry, I know we're about 20 minutes in now, just with me talking about games. But that's all I've played.
Not much.
Not a lot at all. What about you, Hoodie? How's your gaming side been the last wee while?
Yeah, it's been good. You know what? I'm appreciating the PlayStation Premium. I'm understanding its value now. I think they've really found their footing. I still wish they would restructure it so it wasn't so confusing for everyone, because I think there are way too many tiers, and it's constantly a frustration to figure out what's on where. But I have loved that they've been day and date with some indies out there. Meet Your Makers, I believe this month, which I'm very excited about. And we had Stray on there as well as like a day and date. But more recently was a game called Chia, which I have been loving. I think it's fantastic. It's a sweet game that lets you kind of play the Breath of the Wild style game however you want, sandbox, which I appreciate a lot more here than I did Breath of the Wild. I think the way they use their world feels so much more organic and in tune to what they're trying to do, and I think that's a lot of expressing their culture and their character's life, where Breath of the Wild felt like, here's a world and you can do things, and that's cool. But this feels way more genuine in its approach to what it's doing. And I think they do a great job at giving you these tools, maybe not so much explaining how the tools work a lot of the time, but once you do figure them out, there are things so you can take over any object in the world or animal, which I think is really cool. And you can use that to solve puzzles, or there's combat. I probably wish they wouldn't have included that, because I think that's the weakest part of the game. It also detracts from what I think is just a peaceful experience, and then throws in this chaos that felt unnecessary to me. But there was probably some kind of testing that said, oh, we need some kind of action. But I think aside from that, if you're just exploring the world, like taking over a shark and going far out into the ocean, and in the middle of that switching over to a dolphin, or seeing a bird in the sky and turning into a bird and then flying off to the top of a mountain and then sliding all the way down, and all of that stuff feels so organic and fun, and it makes me want to explore the world to find these upgrades throughout it. You can get tons and tons of different customizable items that it's always like, well, what kind of adventure do I want to go on in order to get the thing that I need to get this chicken suit, right? Like, what am I doing today? And I can create my own, or I can follow their story, which is for me personally, tonally, I don't quite understand the story. It'll start off where you're like playing the ukulele and you're having this beautiful moment, and then next thing you're turning into a knife and flying into someone's face, and I'm not entirely certain what's going on there, but the story is there if you want like structured missions, which is a nice addition. But yeah, I think the exploration of this game is just so much fun and endearing in a beautiful world. The country is called New Caledonia, I believe, and it is near New Zealand, I've learned, which is really cool because we have a couple of friends. Shout out Carl, shout out Ben, and I think they did a great job at making me go, oh wow, this place is beautiful. I like learning all about it. Like, they'll have little segments where you're a part of a ceremony that's, I think, demonstrating like tribes or the indigenous people, and I think that's all beautiful to watch. And there's little mini games, and like I said, the ukulele plays a big part in a lot of this game, where you can have kind of a Ocarina of Time system where you can change the day and night cycle depending on what song you play, and you could just free play it as well, which is also interesting. But yeah, there are just so many tools in it that I feel like this is the sandbox that I thought Breath of the Wild was going to be for me, where I really have been enjoying that experience. But aside from that, sorry, yeah.
No, sorry. This is a game. It's like Moana, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it
actually,
like
yeah. I immediately got that vibe when you unlock your little raft that you can also customize, and you can travel through the oceans. Obviously, I don't use the raft as much as I would like to, because I can turn into a shark or a dolphin or whatever have you, or a bird, and I always feel like there's something exciting about that. Also, because all of the animals in the game have different abilities, so if you turn into a bird, you could poop on people. If you turn into a dog, you can dig to find different things. It's really fun. It's very creative and silly. Yeah, I really enjoy it. You know what? I turned into a crab and started pinching people, and I just got a kick out of that. I was like, this is so silly, and I really love it. But aside from that, I was also playing Ghostwire Tokyo, which is a game that came out, and yes, Doctor Strange, video game. It's a game that came out, and I think the critical reception felt like it was a bad game for some reason in my mind, and I don't understand. Yeah. I think it was a AA game, similar to like what you were saying with Saints Row. Of, it doesn't meet the heights of a God of War, but it's also not an indie, and I think this AA game itched something that I didn't know needed to be, where I was like, oh man, this feels like a great experience of, I don't have to play it to get the story as necessarily, but I'm enjoying the story. I think a lot of that world is really cool, I like the combat. I like how you use your abilities in it. You are a Doctor Strange-esque character that does use his hands a lot, like way more than I expected. Any game to ever attempt is to make so many hand animations, which good for them. Hands are not easy in any regard, but I've really enjoyed a lot of the combat and the side missions, especially. I'll just get lost in those because the quick summary of it is that you died and a person took over your body, but then you came back to life, and so you're both inhabiting the same body. Essentially, it's a confusing premise, and I'm doing a poor job at explaining it.
Do you know what I think the problem is with that game is? It's like one of the games that the combat, when you see it on like a video, it just doesn't look good. Like,
yeah,
it just doesn't come across. It doesn't come across as like looks fun at all.
Well, yeah, that's the other problem, is that I think in the beginning it feels so strange to play, where I was like, I don't know why this feels weird, and I can't put my finger on it. But you hit a point, and not even far in, like maybe an hour, where things start to unlock, and you do have a tree, even if it's not like the most expansive tree. You do get different abilities and ways to use them, and throughout the world you start to understand what they do besides combat. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I like exploring this world for that, because a lot of the time the side missions are helping trapped souls throughout the world, and you're like going around and trying to free them, and I like their stories, and they feel intimate and personal in a way that I go, I feel like a good person for doing this. I walk away and I go, oh, I'm glad they get to go be with their brother now. I freed them and things like that. I like the world building. I think the lore is really cool. The story itself, again, I find interesting enough, but it's not compelling me to keep going forward with that right now. I've been doing a lot of the side stuff, especially just unlocking more stamina so I can, absorb things faster, so I don't have to get hit in the head by these slender men that are all over the world. So, it's a lot of like, it's also on premium, which is a big reason why I'm playing it. Where if you have premium or Game Pass, that I think it's coming this month as well to that, try and play it. It's a good AA time. It's not here to bombard you or make you feel overwhelmed. It's kind of a good passive game. I really like it. It's similar in Shia, where it's just like there's a story more for Ghostwire, but it still feels like a good podcast game. How about yourself?
I really likes a good podcast game. Some games just are relegated to that area. I wouldn't say relegated. Actually, that's not very fair. But some games are just more suited to that kind of thing. Like, especially if it's something that's not generally like, I don't know, dialogue heavy. Like where you can just switch that off and generally switch off. So I can appreciate that, and I don't really take it as a slight on games when they are that kind of way, just because it's just something that I look for those kind of games as well. Like a lot of the games I'm playing at the minute don't really lend themselves to that. I'm also playing God of War. I have a wee bit of a lead in to that at the minute, because I've mentioned on the podcast already that the better half, the good wife, bought me a Steam Deck for my birthday, so I've been kind of playing a bit with that. Still, I was playing Dragon's Dogma a good few weeks ago now.
Shut up, Gage.
Yep. Somebody recommended that to me to play that on that because it plays so well. I think it was Jake actually that it recommended that as soon as he heard that I'd got the handheld. So it's been, and I really enjoyed playing what I'd played for it, but I do tend to find myself leaning back in towards like game playing games on the Xbox through a Game Pass and things, especially having the subscription through my phone. It just feels like I just have it because it's a perk for the contract that I'm on. So it almost feels free games kind of thing. So I was messing about with that, and I started Wolong, but and it was fine. The general mission of it was fine. Sneaking up on people, the combat with the general enemies was fine. But I was doing a boss battle, and to be honest, it was actually first. I don't know how many goes. This boss fucking kicked my ass. I enjoyed playing. Genuinely enjoyed playing Elden Ring last year, and I was so fucking angry playing that game some of the times, but I really did have a good fun time playing that. But this first boss in Wolong was just fucking ridiculous. And then eventually, I got halfway through it, and it's that usual you've got a second phase, and you're like, fuck you, your second phase. But anyway, it required just a little bit more I don't know, fidelity in it. And then I got one really long lag because I was sitting downstairs remote playing over the beta phase of the games. I can't remember the terminology they use, but anyway, it's Game Pass, the Game Cloud, whatever it is, xCloud, that's it. So there's just a wee bit of kind of lag in that sense sometimes with the internet. So I thought, right, I'm not going to ruin this game anymore. I'm just going to park it. It's downloaded on the Xbox. I can just go upstairs and play it. So I'll get to that. So I started messing about. This was a few weeks ago. I started messing about to see, what can I play then. So I went on to the Games Pass and started playing Forza. Just doing a couple of races to see how that held up with the internet, and it was actually pretty good. Done a good few races, really enjoyed it, but I just feel like for me, Forza is always one of the games that you just put on for a wee while. Even when it first came out, I was like, you do so many races, and maybe it's just because I'm not a car guy, and I don't generally be like, I'm going to fine tune this, and I'm going to work on this and make this wee bit better. I would gladly hit auto every single time on that kind of stuff because I just don't I have fear of breaking something, and you really can break something in that game where it's if you work on a certain part of the car and you start to see that it's there's a bonus heading into this bit, but when you get round the corner, the handbrake falls off, stupid things like that, where I need somebody to say, no, you really shouldn't be upgrading that because you'll sacrifice X. So it's just too far from me because it not costs real money, it costs the in-game currency, and I'm I don't want to spend currency on upgrading parts, and then there's nothing worse. I put it in terms that everybody can relate to. There's nothing worse than playing for a third person shooter or whatever and going to buy an upgrade, and you buy an upgrade and it's this upgrade doesn't actually equip to the gun you're using. You're like, oh my god, I've just spent all that money on something that I shouldn't have spent the money on. So that's a wee bit of kind of fear of mine. So it's probably why I don't pay too much attention, but why I don't put too much time into playing games like that. So I'm a wee bit sad, and I tend to lean more towards Farming Simulator as my kind of go-to when I'm fed up. So I put that back on, and thankfully,
whoa.
probably
hold your horsepower, sir. I have one bone to pick with you before you move on from Forza. All right, I'll tell you what. I jumped into a game of Forza. You know what? I was driving my merry way down the road, enjoying the nice scenic route. And you know who comes out of the blue with a left turn at a no U-turn zone or whatever the fuck? You and your drivatar running right into me, swerving me off the road, and then going off like you didn't do anything. A hit and run. You committed a hit and run, Mr. Mac.
I do love that feature. I think I have bumped into your good self on a few races, Johnny Vids, and I had a few clashes as well.
He's another
he's
one.
One of my friends list. Exactly, he is another one. So for those who don't know, when you're playing Forza, the other racers are given the names of like your people on your friends list and stuff. So even it's not them, it's actually racing, or it's not like ghosts of their races. But you know, it feels like I'm fucking beating them no matter what happens. I'm beating Hoodie. I mean, but you're not actually like playing against them, or it's not you, but it's pretty fun. That's a good point.
I have another bone to pick real quick. Ben, you know what you did. I fell off a cliff because of you. I'll never forget it.
Never forget. So yeah, I then went to click on a wee bit of, because obviously again it's another Game Pass game, which is great, is Farming Sim, the most recent one. I do own it for the PlayStation already, so it's not too much of a bummer, but what I didn't realise is, because I'm using this through the xCloud, when I set up my game on the xCloud for it through Game Pass, I put a bunch of like the in-game mods, activated them, and they installed them. But then when I went to load up the save, it was like, well, they're not installed anymore, you know, because there's not like a local data save to the the console that I'm using, you know, for that. So it ends up being that you have to go, you know, I'll just go and play that on like the Xbox or whatever, so that I can actually get the experience. I don't want to play it without mods, because some of them are quite handy. So that was like enough for me to be like, right, okay, I'll just again part of that one as well. And I was just sitting thinking, like, what can I play? Like, and then I don't know what it was, but it just something came to me. I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to try and set up this remote gameplay thing for the PlayStation and just, you know, play it out, see how it is. I wasn't expecting much. I lived through the the Vita days. So sorry, with the PS4. Like, I know how fucking bad, excuse me, the latency can be. You know, trying to play a game that, you know, on your thing over the Wi-Fi. So I've been there, but honestly, like, it's been an absolute game changer for me. Like, I have terrible like tendencies to come home after work or the gym or whatever and just, you know, sit downstairs, have dinner, and then just not move to go up and play games, mostly because as it gets on during the night, I'm like, I don't want to go upstairs now and play games for an hour. Like, I would rather you know, I'll just go up and chill out, or, you know, just go up and get my shower, and I'll go and watch some TV and fall asleep after 5 minutes. So the fact that I can now like switch on, like, part of my routine now is to come upstairs, I'll get changed, I'll put the PlayStation, I'll actually like switch it on, and then just like bump it into rest mode. I don't like it being in rest mode all day, but I'll bump it on and put it in rest mode, and then I'll go downstairs, have my dinner, and then, you know, you can just turn on the PlayStation using the Steam Deck and remote access it for whatever it is that you've got to play. So I've been playing a few games. Like I said, I played God of War. Gary had said to me, he's like, say, look, whatever you do, because I was playing Harry Potter previously, and he said, whatever you do, don't play God of War on that. It deserves better. And it was almost right, fully right, almost, because I played like I've played every God of War game, and one of the older games that as a handheld game, it was on the Vita. I can't remember the name. It was Ascension or something. I can't remember, but I played it on that, and it was so good. You know, throwing those you know, twin blades about and stuff. So there is a good feel to that. But see, coming back upstairs again, because I had a wee bit of time, so I came up and I booted it up, and, you know, I gave it the big screen treatment. Like, I have went back to playing it on the Steam Deck when I was downstairs again, so it's not completely like I'm there. Like, I need to play it on the big screen, but it does make a big difference, especially some of the big cinematic moments. But I would say like a kind of a combination of the two of them. Like, my internet's fine, so it's not great, but it's fine. So having that bit of gameplay with that is like, it's not an issue at all. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything, or, you know, missing any blocks or doing anything like that. So I'm enjoying it. Playing it on that, but I did come back up, and it's something that Hoodie said. I don't know what to interrupt because I think you'd moved on before it, but when Hoodie had mentioned the single track shot and things like that behind them, like some of the late stuff, I think I'm just, even though I've been playing it since it came out, but on and off is a long running joke with the podcast, but I think I'm just a tiny wee bit ahead where Gary is at the minute. So obviously, without getting into spoilers and whatever else for Gary and for everybody else, it's just it feels like a movie that you just like. Even like the parts that aren't like the cinematics, it still feels like a movie that you're playing. Like it still feels like you're doing everything, like that you're just completely like in the moment with it. Like I was watching, I don't know how many screenshots I've took over the last couple of days because some of the shots are just absolutely fantastic. You know, you're talking to certain people and without even realizing it, without even seeing it, like the camera's like going down and like panning up to see them and speaking to them in conversation and whatever else. Like it genuinely, like when it's obviously Gary said that other person plays other people, whatever. Like it seamlessly switches between them as opposed to like how some of the games do it, where it's like, oh right, okay, you've got this mission and you're this person now, and then it's like, oh now you're, and there's like a cutscene and a very hard stop, and then you're playing as that person. Like this game, like literally, like there was a point where you're playing it and you're literally doing moves and button prompts as one, and then you're doing button prompts as the next person, and then suddenly it's switched to the image there, the character that you're controlling, and to be honest, I did like playing as them. It did change it a lot of it up for me. I felt like even more attached to the game as playing with them. So I understand the whole Kratos thing, but I just think it is on a totally different level, and hats off to them for being able to change up the combat so much for that. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. And I feel like a great point to the whole tracking shot is the fact that in any other medium that uses this, right, it is the fact that you have to confront the consequence in the moment. And I think in a game that is so much more impactful than watching something like The Revenant or Birdman, where you have just gone through the shit and you're getting to the other side and you're waiting for the cut to go to, a month later or 2 minutes later even, where you've skipped past the problem and you have to just continue on with the story. But in this, it's you got into a fight and you know exactly what happens after that fight, and you're having the dialogue and the conversation and understanding the ramifications or the pain that has just taken place. And I feel like that in a lot of scenarios throughout the game feels claustrophobic in the best way possible, where you are constantly going and that momentum is never taken away from you or halted because the story is in continuous movement. It is such a beautiful way to tell that, and I don't know if they'll continue this thing going forward, but it never felt like a gimmick to me. It always felt like it meant something. There is a transition in the story that is so beautifully done and haunting that I just audibly went, wow. Like I could not comprehend what I had just watched, and that is the power of like keeping it on those characters at all times, no matter who you're playing as, never breaking away and forcing you to keep confronting what's happening and going forward through it instead of around it. I think it's just masterful at telling that story and making it so cinematic, like you're saying.
There was such a simple and beautiful shot in it that I even realised there was a point there one of the characters puts down a goblet and he puts it on this wee single table, and then it like zooms right into the goblet, and then it zooms back out, and the other character's picking it up, and then it's like, no, he picks up the goblet. The other character picks up the goblet, but it's like on the same table, but at a different time. And then it's like, oh no, you're this character again. And I was like, that was a beautiful transition to be like, this is still the same shot, exactly the same shot, but you're just switching. And I was like, that was beautiful, beautifully done.
Have you done the one that's the punch to the wall?
Don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. I've seen that. It's pretty cool. I don't think he's got to that, but yeah, but I didn't really. That was good as well.
Yeah, it really, all of it, even down to like some of the ways they explain how night and day work, like getting from night to day and it's still going, and I'm like, what in the? How did you think this through? How are you guys so smart?
Do you know what? I was surprised. I was surprised at how many characters there are in this game. Like,
yeah.
do you know that way? There was another character and another character, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be like Game of Thrones, man. I'm going to need to have a fucking encyclopedia to figure out who everybody is and remember everybody. But do you know what? Yeah, they actually they have such an impact in every character.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you're just like, oh, aye, that's that person, and that's that person, and yeah, you see them again, and you see them next time, or somebody's in a mission, and I'm just like, oh, this is perfect, so well done, so realised, and even the villains. Well, at my point, it's this part of the story. I still think they're villains. I don't know if that changes or whatever, but I never know with God of War. But even when I've just met the gods, the Valhalla gods, I feel like, and it's just like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Like, a twist to the story that I never anticipated.
It really beats on different levels where you're going. And at this point, I hope at some point we just do a spoiler cast of this game, because
I'm literally about to. I'll let you finish this point, but I was trying to even cut Gary off. Like, so I'll let you go back in, but can we just? Because I would love to. I think it warrants enough of a like. I know it's a year on, but or whatever it is. I think it's in November, but it totally warrants the same podcast. But like, we're almost like at 50 minutes.
Okay.
And I knew that I won't carry up as soon as like you started talking about it. So I'm happy if I let you finish this point. But
okay.
Then we have Gary's like, oh, these characters. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, no, like, no, just let's. It's what we've been playing, though. Like, no reviews. We've been playing, you know.
Can we change the episode title? Is it too late? The last point I'll make is actually one from Ben, where it plays into what Gary was saying about characters. The thing that Ben said was they took two characters that upgraded your weapons and made them almost as strong and powerful as the main characters themselves, and I think that is a testament to the writing in this game.
Yeah. They brought them front and center.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I've been doing, Gary had a wee shot at me before we hit record, because I was away at the driving range today, so I've been doing some IRL exercising and whilst I've been honing my amateur golf skills, and at the same time I've been checking out some PGA 2K23. My mum and dad had got me that as a Christmas present, and it was something I was looking at picking up for the Steam Deck, but at the same time I'd realised that I had it on the PlayStation, so I think that was another reason why I had thought to myself, I'm going to fine tune this. Managing to remote access the PlayStation, because I thought, well, I'm not buying this game if I already own the game, so I might as well just try to kind of install it and go for it. So I installed it that day that I'd set up the remote access, and it's actually been really fun just to put it on before going to sleep. So play God of War whatever downstairs, and then I've been heading up, and just because I don't mind if there's a little bit of lag, because I usually just, if it's like as I'm about to swing and I can feel a bit of lag, I'll kind of swing until it's uninterrupted, and then I'll take the shot. So it doesn't happen often, just every now and again, because the internet at the back of the house isn't great, but that's what I've been playing a wee bit of PGA. It's really, really good. I've seen some good things about the new EA title. Maybe when that's because they just brought out their golf game, so we'll see how that plays out.
Can I ask a question about the? I know it's 2K, isn't it? It's 2K. How is the like points and stuff like that? I know like they go quite hard on the virtual currency stuff. Is it quite an impact on that?
No, but I've heard the opposite for EA's game. Apparently, EA's game is really, really, really bad. So we'll see what comes of that. But I started my 2K, the PGA one. I started the career, and to be honest, like I play it on I play it on the easiest ones right now, right until I've like found my footing a wee bit, and I'm kind of like blasting through at the minute. There doesn't seem to be like a bit that kind of it does have obviously that you can upgrade your clubs and stuff. It's not as in depth as what previous ones is. I don't know why, but it has changed a wee bit, and I can't quite figure out why. I don't know how you compare your clubs to the club that you can unlock to your current club. So if you're a really like serious golf enthusiast, this isn't your game, but I'm enjoying it. So fuck yous. So I did play, as I say, I did have the kind of easiest mode on because it really, really fucks with you, the wind and how the greens sitting and stuff. But it is pretty boring to like fucking birdie every hole and almost win every game. I'm at that point now, and I'm like, right, I'm going to turn it up a wee bit and make it a wee bit more difficult and lose all my sponsorships because everybody will think I'm rubbish. So, as what it is, we'll figure it out. But I'm enjoying it, so it's something else to play at the minute. So yeah, let's get into the main show. That has been what we've been playing, a very lengthy one because it's been a wee while since we recorded, and Gary's played too many games, so he's got fucking honest to talk about. But anyway, we will we'll throw it back to Gary because he's got actually other stuff to talk about games as he demos this new episode format. Like I said, we have this new idea, and we're just going to try it out and see how we got on. I think originally we'll maybe try and do our limit this to a few times a year, but there is a few things, a few different ideas that I'd even had just thinking about what topic I was going to bring to this episode. So if it's something that people enjoy, please let us know that it is something that you enjoy. We'll try and get into the topics a wee bit quicker in the future. It is just because we've played so much and we've not really done one of these for a wee while, so we have went a wee bit lengthy on this side. But I'll try and put a time code in. And hopefully you have managed to stick around for the topics and let us know what you think, because obviously if we enjoy it and you guys enjoy it, then we'll just stick to the format and release more of them because it's something that we all enjoy. So Gary, sorry, I wanted to just put a wee prelude at the start there just to remind everybody that be kind, always be kind, but be kind to us because fuck me, this is just for a laugh, Right, Gary, take it away.
So here we go, breaking the topic virginity here. So I felt like I would ease us in gently. So I just thought, let's talk about games for the first one. I know that's very on brand for us. So my topic is games that people love but we don't. It doesn't necessarily mean that you hate the game. It could just be you find it boring. They just genuinely don't like it, whatever. But it needs to be a kind of game that people rant and rave about. So for my examples, is a game called Horizon. Horizons is a game that gets really good reviews, like 8s. I don't know if it got a 9, I'm not too sure, but it definitely got high 8s. I just can't get these games. I just don't get it. I just don't. See, when I play it, I just think Aloy's too floaty. I just don't really even like Aloy as a character. I think there's only so many times you can hit stuff off a dinosaur and you can start going, right, I can't hit any more metal off this dinosaur. I'm just starting to get bored of this now. I don't think the story for Horizon is even that interesting at all. I think it's just no for me. I've tried. I've completed the first one. I'm 40 years into the second one, and I just go, you know what, Sony, this is just a game that I just need to gear up on. And hearing that there's going to potentially be 3 or 4 new Horizon games within the next 10 years is just like, oh my god, Sony, you're killing me here.
See, just quickly before you get into
Yeah.
What made you? We halved in for the second game, so you didn't quite go all in on buying the second game. But what made you play the second game? Because it's no different for the first game. Like,
I know. I just think, I think it was one of the things where it's like I was saying about a sequel. You know, I think it was one of the things I was like, the first game when I played it, I was thinking to myself, this is a good first try, especially for Guerrilla being obviously with mostly first person games, and I thought this is a good first try for your third person kind of adventure game, So I thought to myself, with a sequel, maybe they'll iron out some of the creases and they'll actually fix bits that I like. But playing the second one, I was like, this game is exactly the same as the first one. You've just got more stuff in it, but it's no changed at all. You've just kept the same kind of layout. You've kept the same resources and all that. And it was like, this is the parts of the game I don't like in this game. Even added puzzles in the game, and I was like, oh man. I think the characters are so uninteresting. And do you know when you hear reviews for it? I've went and these kind of know all the games because no all of them are games in my list here, but like this game I went and I was listening to a review for the second one, and I was thinking to myself, I've written this guy's saying in the review, I'm just like that's literally what I hate about this game. You know, I know the good thing about this game is that it looks beautiful, and nobody can deny that. It's an absolute beautiful looking game. I think what draws me to this game is it's a Sony game. And I just want to rep Sony. You know, I want to be like, Sony, I'm going to get all your games a try. Everything you bring out, I'm going to get a go at least. But this game just doesn't just tickle my fancy, man. It just doesn't. And do you know the thing is? See, when I first seen the first game, I was thinking to myself, no Vikings, cavemen, the metal dinosaurs. What a concept that is! And the actual concept, I was like, that is fantastic. A pure amazing concept. We are people, humans are the actual ones that are cavemen and back to basics. And then you're fighting these robotic, like super weapons, dinosaurs. What a fantastic concept! I think a TV series for this would be amazing.
Unfortunately, from Netflix.
I'm quite looking forward. No, well, you never know. Netflix will have two good series, and then they'll just fling the actor out and do another one. It'll get a Hemsworth sister probably.
Luke's available.
So Horizon's one of my first ones. I don't know if you want to just go back and forth on Horizon, or do you just want me to continue?
I have 2 points to validate your argument for my own sanity as well. Where spoiler alert, we were talking about what kind of games would be considered for this before the show, and you brought up Horizon, and that was spot on to what I think is a game that I know people like, but I cannot understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'll roll it back just a little bit, where I can understand the high sci-fi of it, where people really like that kind of story, and generally all like that kind of story. You know, Arrival, all of those fun, thinky, really thought-provoking kind of stories out there for sci-fi fans. But when I played through the first one, I got to the end and thought that was a okay journey. That was pretty good. I enjoy the concept more than the execution. I'm like, oh, this is a really interesting idea, and somehow it doesn't feel interesting when I'm playing it, because like you, I had the same thought. Well, that was a good first go. I'll try the second one. Maybe they have nailed what I didn't like about the first one, which was mainly the gameplay. I don't like the gameplay of these games. It is immensely unfun for me to play. I feel like it's tedious in a way that can be easily fixed, and there are so many options in there now where games are open world, but they still cater to making sure your experience is accessible and fun to go through that world. I think a great example is Ghost of Tsushima, where I never felt like there was tedium because everything flowed so easily. When I was navigating that world, I felt I understood where I was going. I liked how they used the wind system. I really appreciated how everything you picked up throughout that world was automatic, where there are so many bits and pieces and bobs, and they're scattered everywhere in your sight in Horizon, and you have to pick up each and every one of them. And if I'm mistaken and there was an accessibility option I clearly missed, which I combed through and tried to find, but Aloy has to manually pick up each and every one of these things. And I found that so annoying, especially because they are necessary. This isn't a thing where I can avoid getting these upgrades. Like, in order to survive in this world or make bows or any of this, I have to pick up flowers and sticks and rocks and whatever have you. And it just kept feeling like going out of my way to do this was not worth my time at the very bare minimum. And I know that might be the biggest nitpick in the world, but it is one that, because I've played other games that have done this to ease that problem of an open world, I can't go back now. Ghost of Tsushima ruined that for me. If I'm going to complain about open worlds now, it's going to be because Ghost of Tsushima taught me that you can do it in a way that makes it feel like everything's moving. It's on a constant. And I can get to point A to point B without feeling like, oh, I don't have any arrows when I get to point B. I guess I got to stop over here and pick up some lavender. I don't want to do that. So when I jumped into 2, I thought, well, this will be fixed because Ghost of Tsushima exists and it's in the Sony family. So they must have taken notes. I've heard that they all share, systems in some way. They like to be inclusive to all of these studios. So that'll be alleviated. But no, I'm 20 minutes in and I'm going through this dungeon or whatnot, these ruins, and oh, you need to make a bow. Quick, go over and find some sticks, collect 2 of them. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get these sticks. So I'm going, I'm gathering, I'm doing that, and I'm making the bow. And it just feels so long in my head. Like, it's such a weird thing to be, because I had spent, 20 plus years not complaining about this, and now I am, because I know what it can be. Or even to move away from Ghost to go over to something like Ghostwire Tokyo in the same family. They also do that, where it's a quick pickup. He'll just pick things up around him. Or even in Spider-Man, where I never felt like the momentum ever stopped. I didn't have to go over here and get a health pack. If I wanted to heal, guess what? I punch somebody and I'll get more health. And I thought all of that in tandem is now making it harder for me to play open worlds that feel dated, that feel slower and halt me from where I'm trying to go. Another factor in that was the grapple hook that they introduced, and this is 20 minutes into the game. This is not a amazing revelation that you find later on, but you get this grapple hook in the second one, and I assume it gets more interesting and dynamic throughout the game, but it wasn't in the beginning, where I felt like, okay, I have to hook onto this thing and I have to yank it out and I have to do a quick time event and then I have to grapple hook up here, but it never felt fluid. I didn't feel like it was similar to the rope system in like The Last of Us or even Uncharted 4, and it definitely wasn't, Spider-Man's webs. So it's this weird like C-tier version of those mechanics that I was like, well, I just know this isn't going to be fun either. So I'm 2 hours into this game already finding things that I'm upset about. And not upset in like a strong way, but to the point where I'm like, if there's 40 hours of this game, I can't do this. I should stop now.
Do you know the thing is? You see, the longer you play, like the more the map you unlock, it's actually more stuff to pick up as well. It's no just sticks and lavender. There's there's all different stuff. There's different berries and there's like glowing something, and it's just like, oh my god! And it's funny. It's funny that you say that, because I did the exact same. But my 2 games that I compare everything to, and it's a terrible sin today because they're probably 2 of the well reviewed games, is Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2. That's just the 2 games open world games is the 2 games that I compare, and they're obviously in my mind one of the best both of them are the best open world games ever. And I think Witcher is exactly what you were talking about. Witcher 3, although it's an RPG and quite heavy with like picking stuff up and stuff like that, but it was literally like walk X, drop down screen, what's in this chest, take all, don't, or just take what you want kind of thing. And that was it. There wasn't like an animation for picking up and constantly doing that kind of stuff. But also the opposite of Red Dead Redemption was that game felt slow, but that was intended for that game.
Yes. Very
Whereas
much.
Horizon, I think Horizon has got that pace problem where it's a fast-paced game, but then you're constantly picking up a stick, and it's like
100%.
What?
And I don't know how amazing that story gets. I've heard good things, but it also wasn't a story that drew me in enough where I felt the need to push through the gameplay problems that I had. I think Aloy is a good character. I like her. I do think it suffers from what you were saying. Nobody's really that interesting. I do think it has a self-serious tone to it where even when they're quipping, it always feels underlined by an impending doom almost, and I don't understand why. I feel like this world has a sense of dread where it should feel a little bit more optimistic, because Aloy for me reads as an optimistic person, but it never feels fun. It always feels miserable to be in a world with a bunch of robot dinosaurs, and to me that dissonance never comes to like a good middle ground. It's always, well, what you're saying and doing feels serious a lot of the time, but then you'll say and do things that aren't, so I'm not sure where you are on this spectrum. I think another game that suffered from that was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where they would have these outlandish side quests that were so much fun and really wacky, but then it was like this super, oh, we're going to war and everything, and I never quite found that balance, and most of the time I leaned towards the fun, wacky things that they were doing because I got the most enjoyment out of that. Where Horizon, even in the side quests, I never got to a Valhalla level of a side quest where I felt complete enjoyment. I always felt like I was working to do something, and that to me is a game where, again, these are the people who made Killzone, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt with the first game. Like, listen, this is your first go at making an open world RPG. That's incredible. Great job for that alone. Like, I commend you. That is not an easy feat to shift from making first person shooters for over a decade to this. And then the second game, doing it all over again, I was like, okay, now I have to doubt. I have to move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. See, playing the God of War, this Ragnarok, and I mean, no spoilers, but it's obviously quite linear. But then the map sometimes has like many open worlds, I would say. Very, very small, but it's just like this area opens up to you. And I think to myself, would Horizon actually work better if it was more like that? Like more a linear path and just a small open world at certain points instead of this vast open world where, I mean, in Horizon, see the Forbidden West, like I think you start off in one place and then you go in, there's like, I think there's 3 different places, or 2 different places before you go to the main map. And see, when I got to that main map and I pressed the whatever it was, the touchpad, and it opened up and the map wasn't even in like that screen. I had to like zoom up and zoom over and zoom down, and I was like, this is fucking huge. And I was like, this has put me completely off this before I even started that journey.
Yeah. I also think maps are a big problem for me now. I if I see a map that's too big, I'm like, I know most of this space is going to be empty. Why did you need this? This is unimportant. You need to really think, is this world livable or is this world impressive? And I think the world needs to be livable more than impressive. Like, anybody can make a big map. We've proven it at this point. But that doesn't mean it's going to be good, or I would rather have a smaller scale map with a lot of like quality to it more than a quantity map. And I do think Horizon suffers from that greatly.
Suffers in the No Man's Sky. Sean, like, don't talk about my No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. Talk
So
about a
that
game
was
that has
that was
system.
that was her Horizon review. Mr. Matt, you got anything to say about Horizon? That you like Horizon, don't you? You don't mind them?
No, it's I think the first one I played I don't know, between 6 and 8 hours, and I had kind of gave up at the time, and then I went back to it kind of during COVID when I was putting a lot of hours into kind of games. I was working through COVID, as in going to my actual day-to-day job, but it was a different shift. It was like slightly later, so I'd like time to play games in the morning and time to play games at night. So it did leave a lot of opportunities for me to go out and try some of the older games as I was trying to. My idea was to try and play as many games or complete as many games that I had in backlog and games that were coming out before I started looking seriously at getting a PS5. I did quite a lot of games that year. For me, quite a lot of games, just because in years gone past and even years since, I don't complete very many games or play a lot of different games. I buy a lot of games, but
And a
I
lot of
don't.
platforms.
I have every different shop, store, whatever available to me, and I just look through them all, a bit like Netflix, and whatever. It's just Horizon for me. I was looking forward to the second one. I started it. Unfortunately, Elden Ring came out like a week later, so I was enjoying it. But I thought I'm going to try this Elden Ring out. I don't know if it will completely be for me. I didn't shout out to Al, the Predator Tribesman, who also does the start and the intro and outro music for the podcast. Free gratis. The guy's a fucking legend.
Legend.
He done that for us. So I should but he for my 30th he gave me like a £50 PSN gift card, so I put that straight in towards getting the Elden Ring, which I wasn't planning on buying. Because he gave me that, I thought I'm fucking just pre-ordering this before I change my mind. So when it came out, I downloaded it, tried it, and I couldn't put it down. So that's a long-winded way of saying basically I started playing that and then it just kind of got sidetracked or whatever, and I did try and go back to it again like many moons later. I actually forgot a very important button that prevented me from finishing a quest quicker than I'd like. I was wandering around these bushes looking for something for a good half an hour before eventually I had to look up like a help guide, and they pressed this button. I'm like, what the fuck did they just do there? And I had to try and remember what it was, because it was like, no, the scan button, but like, because it's not the button that shows all the stuff, but the button that scans the stuff that you've brought up. So I find that the again, it's just similar to what you guys are saying with it, rehashing or going on for too long. But I find the combination of things between like the whole, as Gary puts it, dinosaurs or robotic dinosaurs, whatever. I find that really, really fascinating, and I actually like the technology side that like Aloy has, as much as I think like surely she's not the only person that's dabbled in this technology. Like, no, everybody, like, they can't be, everybody else can't be absolutely scared of technology. But anyway, that's for another fucking conversation, I think. But I like the tracking, like the system, and I like all that kind of trajectory kind of stuff, and I like all that kind of AR, everything's all kind of realised and stuff. It is really, really cool. But it's just I put on, and as soon as you go into the Forbidden West, whatever, and just what you just said, the map is humongous, and I kept getting killed off random things when I was just trying to go to like a certain place, and it feels like it's one. I know a sequel always does this. I totally understand it, but it feels like one of the worst examples of like how not to do this, when you like go from being this really like powerful like person in the first game, and then it just seems like everything's like much, much more powerful than you, and you just don't have the skills or ability to do like certain things. So and the introduction of all these different systems and shock and fire and ice and man, I'm falling asleep even talking about it. I just I didn't
But do you know
even
what?
write
Do you know what's strange about that? They introduce a lot of that stuff, but then they don't introduce the weapons a lot. A lot of the time, the weapons you just buy in the store, and it's like, right, so I'm not going to get a tutorial on how to actually use this weapon. So I've just to know where I'm supposed to put this weapon and how to use it, like as soon as I buy it. That was really strange for a game, because you know what games are always like? It's usually a weapon's usually something you get or you get given, and it's always like, oh, maybe you should use this for this wee bit, you know, while I gave you it. Whereas this is just like you go to the store and it's like you could buy this gun, or this bow, or this, and this. And I was like, what?
You know what's a smart version of what you're saying is the Ratchet and Clank series, where they sometimes introduce new weapons to you, but most of the time they're just in the store, right? But what's cool about that is they give you like a personalized video for each and every weapon, and they're always comedic in some way, but they're selling me on why I should use this weapon. And it's a little mini tutorial before I purchase it. Like, say Mr. Zircon, you'll go in to buy him, and you could press to preview why you would want to buy him, and they'll give you this like small clip, and they'll show you like his qualities and what makes him useful, or what he works with well, as I think is another important part of it. Like, does Mr. Zircon work well with the fire whips or whatever have you? Like, all of those things make that experience better, instead of like you're saying, okay, I guess I'll buy this bow, but I don't know what it does because all you're giving me is like a little blurb. Okay.
Yeah. But so Horizon's a game that none of us like the Vault Dwellers, Felix.
Game of the year for me personally, but you can speak for yourselves.
So another game, isn't it a game? It's a series or I don't know, a genre, I feel like, is Arcade Fighters.
Nah.
I have tried and tried. Tekken's about the only one that I've ever gave a really good go, and I was starting to get good at. But even then, I was like, still don't really like this. So the games I'm kind of talking about are Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and I didn't write it down. The Warner Brothers one with Injustice League. No, what is it? Injustice.
See, that's the only one I've liked. The Injustice series.
I liked Injustice,
but I think that's also my bias for DC.
Yeah, it could be. I've tried every one of these, and I just don't get it. It's just no me. See when I'm holding a controller and you go to that start screen and it's like menu and it's combo list and it's like XX up, down, up. I'm just like my brain just does not compute with this. And it's not a get good kind of thing. It's just my brain does not work like that. I can't see as soon as a game starts doing that. See as soon as a game starts this, or if you just press L1, R1, and then X and circle together, and my brain's just like, no, game over, man. It just does not compute.
It feels like that.
Exactly. I look at these games afar. I always compare it to wine. I don't like wine, but I would like to like wine. And that's exactly the same. It's exact same with these games. I look at them and I watch people play them, and like you've seen the tournaments. Everybody's seen like the tournaments that they do, and there's these people that are literally balling at this game. They're literally juggling somebody like for the constant, the full fight, and I'm just like, that is so impressive. And they know all the combos and all that kind of stuff, and you're just like, it's just so cool to watch. But when I play this game, it's just like, just press X.
Yeah.
Kick.
Like those series of games that you've rattled off are always full of communities that are just so passionate and like enthused that I'm like, oh, I love that you guys love this. I mean, even our friends Jake and Phil, like their enthusiasm for that genre is palpable, and I go, oh, that's awesome, and I would love to understand that, but there's no chance in hell that I can. And I've picked both their brains to some extent of, oh, why do you like this? And they'll explain it, and I understand enough, but the second I try, it is that thing where it doesn't compute. I'm not doing this. I've got to move on. Also, I never feel like I learn anything where I can be competent. I think even Smash Bros is another offender of this for me, where, man, I know I played it as a kid and all of my friends had fun, and I had fun as well. I'm not going to say I didn't, but I would never win. I can tell you that much, and I never will. And years later, as Smash Bros continued to come out, still never won, still never quite understood what I was doing, and that, I think, is like, for lack of a better term, baby's first like fighting game. So if I can't manage that, no chance in hell I can manage the other ones.
I think for me it's kind of a bit of a bias for these kind of games as well, because like Injustice, for like I think you can play like a difficulty. I think there's a difficulty, but anyway, I always just play games in normal. So if there was a normal difficulty, that's what I'll play on. I never put it on easy. I feel like I can't put it on easy. It's just my brain going, you don't play it easy, you play normal, just play normal. That's what my brain goes like. But seeing Injustice, I couldn't get by a part. I just couldn't get by it. I was just like, I cannot do this. Like, there's just something about me and these games that it's just like, you're shit at them. And that's probably a biased part of my brain just going, well, do you know what? If you're shit at them, you're not playing it. And you don't like them. And that's just the end of that kind of thing, you know? But no, it's weird because I do like some fighting games, like the UFC games, Fight Night games, a big one for me and Sean. I know we both of us love them, and I know they're much more simple than an arcade fighter. But arcade fighters is just something that I just cannot play, man, and they'll just go on my stuff that I would love to play, but I just can't. I just cannot. What about you, Mr. Mac? What about you in the arcade? I know you played Injustice.
Yeah, I did really enjoy Injustice. I don't remember too much about the second one. I'm sure I played it, but I don't remember too much about it. I enjoyed the story elements like introduced, although I can sit and play like a Mortal Kombat kind of game, or like a stage fighting game, like where it's like tournament driven, and you just kind of try and see like how long you can kind of last and stuff. I do quite enjoy them. I don't play a lot of them, just because I fear of buying it and not playing it enough. So I just don't want to waste the money almost, or whatever. I waste my kind of time on that kind of thing. Obviously, I've had a huge affinity for Mortal Kombat from back in the day, and when we had like the pool of games was much smaller. You could say, so you did tend to play like some of these games, especially when you get into the idea of like co-op and stuff. Co-op wasn't really a thing when we were growing up, so it was always like pass about the controller, but you just generally don't really do that now. So playing Tekken with like some of my friends like back in the day, like I really owned Tekken, but they did. I just kind of button bash and stuff. I do have a bit more of a technical mind, so the button combinations, I don't kind of fear them or anything like that, but I do get like that kind of frustration when a game when it gets to a certain point, like this is fucking too hard, like I've just not going to be able to do this. But there is a true like excitement from getting to that point in a fight where like this guy is absolutely kicking my ass, and then all of a sudden like you kind of get the better of them, and it's like right down to the wire, like or like the opposite, where they're right at the button, like they're right, like all you have to do is hit this guy like one more time, and then they start getting the better of you, and that kind of panic sets in. Like, it doesn't sound like a good fucking thing, but there is like some sort of like enjoyment to that, I feel anyway. But like it's not like a hill I would dive on. I don't think if somebody, there's things you can see online where it's like, pick a type of game to banish the fucking nightmare realm forever. Fighting games would be like one of the first one. Them and driving games, it's just not something I generally always play, even though I mentioned Forza earlier, but they're just not up there with everything else. But I wouldn't have, like, it didn't come to mind when you put the idea for this topic out there, like games. I know that you has wrote like games that we like either hate or love that others don't. And then obviously you said at the time, hate, not really the word, it's just really just the word that we're using, but no, you don't really hate anything. So it's just games we kind of dislike. These aren't the type of games that came to my mind because I just don't have that many strong feelings for them.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've got another couple, but I just feel like I'm talking too much. I feel like passing the buck on to everybody else. So we'll just go with Hoodie first. No, do I fuck it, Sean? You were talking there. Right, go. You just continue. What's a game? What's a game that you well, we don't, people love, but you don't?
So I have two because I put two forward for the others don't the others like, but I don't. But just because of the way that you'd phrased the question about either that we hate it or love that others don't, and I feel like we have been ridiculously, unusually negative in this episode so far, for everything.
Swap that shit up.
So I'm going to swap it and I'll go to the games that we love. People can just skip this next part, right? But I'm genuinely serious, no trolling. I didn't play the sequel. I'll say that right away. I've fucking loved Knack, right? This is like one of the biggest. This could get us cancelled, right? That's how bad of a statement that was, right? I swear to God, I'm not even joking. I really thought about going for the platinum for that game, but there was like a couple of trophies that it's like, no, that's too much time. I don't know if like a lot of it's down to like it was like one of the first games out for the console at the time, and it was like, oh look, it makes a noise through the controller and stuff. So it was just one of those kind of gimmicky kind of games. But I love 3D platforming games. I know it's stupid. I know it is. I know, like, but so is everything else. Like, what, Mario eats a mushroom and then doubles in size and he gets one hit and he fucking halves in size. Like, the premise is still there. Like, you're that, and you unlock the bits and pieces that he's made out of, and he absorbs them and he gets bigger. Like, what's wrong about it? People are so offended by that. Like, I don't really understand why. And it's like, oh, he can like let go like some of them, and then he ends up really small again. I think it was really cute, but I don't think there was enough out. So two things. Like, I think the reason maybe why I like clicked with it so much, or like gave it as much of a pass, is because there wasn't as much. I also think the opposite, where so many people came at it because there wasn't as much else to come at the time. Like, maybe, I don't know, but I feel like the story and the art style and that was pretty cute as well. So I think there's a lot of kind of heat on it. So it's quite funny when people bring it up on like podcasts and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, like Knack, oh, and it's like, no, I fucking like it. You know, I just.
It's funny, it's you talking about Knack, it just pure unlocked a memory. And it's just like, I remember Sean gave me this game and then he'd be like, oh, Knack's a brilliant game, you should play it. It's kind of like, I don't like to say you said it was like Mario, but you know, it's kind of sort of puzzly. It's sort of puzzly. You like it? It's really cool. And I played it, and I was like, "What is this shit, man?" I like, is he fucking having me on? Like, this is a fucking good game. Like, no. I just doesn't click with me at all, man.
I get it.
I'll say, I've played both of these games. I agree with Mac. Really good games.
There you go.
Really good.
There we go.
But the only problem I have with these games is the missed opportunity. All right, Knack 2 should have been called Knack 2. Knack is back. All right, and then if they made a third one, Mark Cerny, if you're listening, make a third one. All right, I know you can. You have the power. We were able to make 2 of these games, and like Max said, nobody's ever said they liked them. So clearly you could make a third one. And if you do, you call it Knack 3 Knack Attack. All right? I'm not asking for much here. Okay? I'm not complaining about your gameplay or your character design or any of that. Only the naming. Change the names. Go back and change the second name to Knack is back.
Mr. Mac, we need you to play Knack 2 to confirm if it's good or no by the next series, the next episode.
Play it, Mac. You'll love it.
Maybe. So I do get it though. I get like some of the things that people were picking up on, but it's just sometimes I think it's a wee bit like how like Americans say that they dislike Nickelback, like it's just like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, You know what I mean?
It is such an apt comparison.
You know, it's just I think it's just like fun to like join in on the bit. So, you know, fair. If you don't like it, you don't like it. This was the question, and that was the first game that came to my mind. I enjoyed the game, and other people don't. So that's the perfect fits right in there. So
between
just,
you and me, Matt, they're all wrong.
Yeah, totally, 100%. I think the opposite then for me was so there was two games. I'll just go with one of them now, but I really don't like the game Among Us.
No, sus.
Yeah, exactly. All that shit, and it's such a big game, especially with like the young crowd and stuff. I didn't think that was going to click as much. Among Us was like it's been out for fucking ages, right? So people probably pretend it fucking hasn't, but it has. It's been out for a long time. And then it just somehow got like really popular. I don't know if it was like the COVID time or whatever the fuck it was, but anyway, somehow it just got really, really popular, especially in like the YouTube scene and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, these kids were playing it, and I was like, how the fuck are they playing it? And it's like, oh well, it's like they play it on iPads, and they don't even need to like speak to anybody. It's just like they just vote people or do whatever it is that they're doing. But I can see like the thrill behind it, but I cannot play that game whatsoever. It unlocks like a certain bit of fucking anxiety for me, where it's like I don't want to like, and it's not the game itself. It's like it's the thing inside the game where it's when you like, so just say you're playing it now, and then you know if you're playing on Discord or whatever, and which is what actually happened. I played it once, and I played it on Discord, and I'm like, I don't know, am I supposed to mute myself now? Am I supposed to like not be able to hear anybody now? Like, do we like who speaks, or like are they supposed to be able to hear me? Because I don't know if what I'm allowed to say now, because I know that person's the killer, but I'm dead. So am I just like, it's just too much. It's too much to think about, like that you're supposed to you say this or this, and then people are like, you know, arguing with each other or whatever, and it's just that I don't like conflict, and I don't like it. When people, it's like, you know, oh, he's this person, and then the other person gets really annoyed because they've like accused them of being the thing, and I'm like, but this is the game though, like this is all the game is. It's just about accusing and trying to like convince other people. Like I totally get. It's not that I don't enjoy games that has this as the kind of main idea, where you try to convince other people, or you know, lie and try and sell that lie. Like, I'm pretty fucking good at that, but in this setting I just don't know what it is. It's just I'm just not into it. So I don't know, it's just one of the things. Like, it is such a big thing. I know that like, it's no Gary's thing at all. I don't even know if he's ever actually played it, but because it's hugely kind of social more than it now. So I don't know what Hoodie's involvement is. I don't know what Hoodie's kind of involvement with the game has been, but it was definitely one of the first games that came to mind for the opposite side, where it's just you know, something that everybody seems to love, and it just doesn't click with me.
Yeah. Among Us is one of those things where I've played in a small group of people, just some close friends, and that'll be fine. I think I'm personally bad at the game because I'm a bad liar. So I laugh through everything I say, and guess what? That's not convincing to people. If you're laughing while you're trying to tell them, yeah, Scott was in the engine room, you know, it doesn't work that way. But I've also played it in big groups, and to echo your anxiety problem with it, I have anxiety, and that just raises its level. I did one that was on a stream that had a lot of people on it, and the tension that was in there with people who are just, you know, like me, playing it, and if I die, I die. If I can't lie, I can't lie, and it's over, and I don't know what to say. You know, it's just a game. And then there were other people who took it so seriously, like, no, I was here in this spot, and you told me that I wasn't. And you know what? Like, that to me makes it so uncomfortable of a game that I understand why people like it. I just can't enjoy it that way. I'll tolerate it in a group of like 4 friends, but any more than that, I've learned that is not a game for me. That is a game that is scary to play with the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, like there was a time like when I was playing it and people were like, so where did, like, it wasn't directed at me, it was just I was either playing it or watching or whatever it was, and it's like, well, where did you come from then? And it's like, oh, I came from this room, and I'm like, see, if anybody asked me that, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know any of these rooms. This is the first time I played this, so how can you catch me out if I've never played the game? I don't know where I'm coming from because I don't even know what's happening. Like, who did I die? Did I kill you? Like, what happened? I don't know. So I don't know. I know it's the idea. It's like, oh, you play it more and you would get it, but it just isn't for me. It definitely triggers something in my kind of fucking anxious brain that I'm like, there's too much to think about to try and actually even enjoy this. So I just went kind of 1 for 1.
Yeah, maybe the game was better when you don't have social interaction. You know, like as you said, like the Waynes play it and it's literally like they don't talk. Maybe that is the way the game should be played.
It's like if it's text based or something or whatever, or something like that, where it's a wee bit more. I don't know, less thing. I couldn't even like enjoy it playing in like groups of friends and stuff. I don't know. It's just a wee bit odd for me. So, I didn't. I know you'd had a good few examples and stuff, but I just went 1 for 1. I do have another one for games that we that other people seem to love, but it's if I'd rather pass the torch on to Hoodie if he's getting to add before if I was to drop that one.
Okay, so mine is, I understand I am in a very, very, very small minority of people thinking that this isn't a game, it's a studio. And it's Arcane Studios, the people who have made Dishonored 1 and 2, Prey, Deathloop. They undeniably have impeccable level design. I think that's just a standard for them, and they are so good at it. It's the gameplay for me in every I've played all of their games, just so we're clear, and I've played 2 of them to completion, which one was Dishonored 1, and the other one was Prey. Both are games that I can understand why people love them. I cannot understand why people love to play them. They are all of their games, for some reason, have this disconnect with me that I just feel like it's, going back to the Horizon thing, a chore to play these games. I feel like they're never fun or fluid for me, and that's not to say they're bad. It's clearly a me thing because I am like a 1% of the audience saying their games are not for me. But I think Deathloop was the one that was the last straw of, even with Redfall coming out on Game Pass and not a single person in our friend group being like, yeah, I want to play that. I mean, there's no reason for me to even jump into it at this point, because Deathloop was that game that I played it on Party Chat and everybody listened to me go crazy, trying to convince myself that I liked this game and going, no, this is good. This is good. This is, yeah. No, I'm having fun here. And the fact that I had to audibly say I'm having fun probably meant that I was lying. And I could not grasp what the point of that game was, and I could not grasp why I would ever want to play it. Even if I understood the story, playing that game felt so dreadful. I was going through and dying and repeating, and I understand the concept of Groundhog Day, but boy, is that a bad gameplay mechanic for me personally. I think the same thing was felt in Dishonored, where somehow I could sneak around these people and do this, but it never feels satisfying to stealth. It never feels satisfying to confront people either and like go in guns a-blazing. There, in no scenario do I ever feel like I'm... All of their mechanics feel very floaty, so like gunshots don't feel like there's an impact. Stabbing people doesn't feel like there's an impact. there's just nothing to it that I feel. Like I don't get that sense of Kratos throwing the Leviathan axe and it like hitting someone and you nail them and like you feel the vibration, and then when you pull it back you hear the thump from the audio. Like all of those things in tandem with each other, playing that like orchestra almost of combat for God of War, I feel powerful, or I feel like this is heavy combat. Where in Dishonored or Prey or Deathloop, all of those games have that same problem of I feel like I'm paper mache. I don't know what it is, but if you poured just a little bit of water on me, I would melt. I don't know why there is this high praise for it outside of the puzzle element, but even that, I go, well, I mean, I'm getting through all of these levels fine. Like, I can walk through all. There's not like I'm having to solve anything, and maybe there's a Hitman aspect to it that I'm missing, but even Hitman feels like it's more clear-cut on, well, I could kill this guy with a banana. Let's figure out how to do that. Where Dishonored, I'm like, I guess I could turn into a rat and eat that person, but I don't know why I would want to when I could just walk up the stairs. Like, it's something about that studio that just doesn't click with me personally, and that is one that, like I've said multiple times, I acknowledge I am probably the only one in existence that I know of besides another friend, just in case they don't want to be outed for it. I'm not going to say who it is, but like we've talked about it, and it's like we keep trying and nothing's clicking. I think the closest I got was Prey, where I liked turning into cups and rolling around, and I liked their goo gun. And you know what? That was fun, and that was pretty much it for the rest of it.
Do you know, I'm totally in agreement with you. Totally in agreement. So I'm in your 1% as well. I feel like everything you've exactly said, I'm not going to rehash it, but that is perfectly put by you. I think Arcane always have brilliant ideas for games like Dishonored. Like the world of Dishonored was amazing. Like this
Absolutely.
sort of steampunk depression. Like it was so good, so good.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Just the gameplay just doesn't deliver it for me. And do you know what's the thing is? Like, see when you see people play Dishonored and they're obviously amazing at it. Like you're watching like games, right, speed runs and stuff like that, and you'll see people and they're playing it, and you're just like, wow, that's the way that game's supposed to be played. I can't play it like that.
Yeah.
And when I play it, it just looks like shit and feels like shit. I've played Dishonored. There's 3 Dishonored in it. I've played 2 Dishonoreds. I've completed the first one, played some of the second or the I don't know if it was the second or the DLC. I can't remember what one I played. And I've played Deathloop, and I got like the first 3 hours of Deathloop, and I was like, this game, it's just no for fucking me. It was that exact reasons as you were saying. I was just like, no, man. I mean, they were in the adverts they were touting it as, oh, it's sort of like Hitman. It's sort of like Hitman, and I was playing it, and I was like, this is fuck all like Hitman.
Yeah.
You know, but I have to say, I'm totally in the same boat with you. Arcane, their worlds and all that are always good. Their ideas are always brilliant, but for me, it just doesn't deliver as well. I totally agree.
Do you have anything to say, Mac? What do you have to say for yourself?
I think I never played any of the Dishonored games, but I felt like looking at them, I never really felt like they looked like the kind of style that I was interested in. I thought that Deathloop looked like a good game until I seen the kind of gameplay loop as well. So I understand why Arcane's as a studio is not quite there. I mean, Prey as well was something that I was interested in getting into until I'd seen the kind of gameplay. It's just not the right style. It's just not the style that interests me. So I tend to just kind of stay away from them as well. I wouldn't say that I have like a massive dislike or anything. I just know it's not for me, so I just not tried them. I had when Gary was playing Dishonored, that kind of style. Like I played Thief instead, which it was just a wee bit more. I don't know. I felt like it was just that tiny wee bit more kind of grounded in I don't know. I don't know what like like what I felt, but it just was a wee bit different to how it looked like that played. So I don't have too much to offer because I don't play any of the games. I just know by looking at it that it's just no my cup of tea. So I've never really tried it. I think I've always kind of liked. I've heard good things about the likes of Prey, but um, I'm getting to that point in life now where if something doesn't really interest me, I am no fucking trying it because I don't have enough time to play the games that I've got, so I probably end up in the end just giving it a miss. But I can understand, obviously, like I know you're a bit trepidatious about pitching a studio like as general as that, but they do have a very, you can join the dots between all of the different games. In terms of like, you could look at it and identify that it is an arcane game, and there is like a very, very obvious like through line between all of them. So I can see why like some people be like, well, you're painting them all with a kind of one brush, but even though Dishonored was like a certain particular type of game, and then like there is very strong differences between Prey and Deathloop, but there's just I don't know. It's just that kind of that smell of arcane about it that it's just not quite there. Fair enough if people like it though, but I can see why you might know.
Yeah. So I think we've sat on this topic for a good while, so I think we should just maybe continue everybody else's topics. Everybody else is happy with that. I don't want to end up going about 17 hours long because I feel like this topic we could end up getting revisited because if I've still got some and you've still got some, so I think we could have literally go on forever for this conversation. But no, I'm happy that subject went well. I'm quite glad we did that one. And who's next? I think it is social media next. Who's that, Sean? There you go.
That was my good self. So I had as like I said at the start of the episode, I had a few ideas, and this was just one that I thought was pretty good. Just given the kind of current climate in the last few years as well for everybody. So just kind of setting the scene, I thought that it would be good to probably start from the beginning, like any good story, in terms of social aspects and social media and all that kind of stuff. Like I was writing down a note of all of the kind of social medias that I've had or been involved with or whatever it is for since the very beginning of accessing the internet and stuff. It's so weird because when I was young, like I've always had the ability to speak to anybody. I think I've maxed out my perception skill in terms of like being able to know like who to speak to. Like, so as much as like I don't always have the charisma or whatever it is to be able to like speak to, like when I was young, like probably young, I was always describe myself as like quite a shy person, like as much as like Gary will laugh his way off this podcast, but I didn't really, I wouldn't have said to like I was anything like social whatsoever, even especially in school as well. I always said that one of my biggest like regrets was like not trying to like delve into that kind of side of me when I was in school, because it would have maybe made things like just that tiny wee bit easier. In terms of being able to actually like tap into that confidence that I now have, but that comes with time and comes with life and stuff. So it's not always something that you can just hone into, especially something in the past that's fucking literally impossible. But when you look at like social media in general, when I first started using like computers and things like that way back when, I actually think it was my cousin that kind of first introduced me into the kind of social aspect. Like I just used the computer to play like games on like Cartoon Network and play games on like Mini Clip and all that kind of stuff, like way back in the day, or play like pinball like on the computer. Like I wasn't really doing anything like too spectacular with it, but she kind of introduced me like back when like AOL was a thing, to like chat rooms, so like AOL chat rooms and stuff. So I used to just go in and like look at this, stuff that people were talking about on like the Cartoon Networks stuff. Like it was very much like kid based stuff. I was really young at the time. So that was like that kind of first side, but I was like, hold on a wee minute, like there's actual like other people here, like there's people like speaking and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how I got started on this kind of side of things, but when I was in high school, obviously like MSN Messenger was this big thing. And it was like, oh, what's your Addy and what's your thing? I don't know how I got so many people or so many different people adding me at the time. I don't know if it was just like like I was trying to think. I genuinely have no idea how I picked up so many people. If it was just like being added to group chats or just being friends with like different social groups, and suddenly I managed to get these people, or if it was through like later on like Bebo or whatever else, maybe that was how you managed to get adding people. But anyway, I used to like go home from school, and that was what I would do, is I'd go on the computer and just talk to people for a few hours, sit listening to music and talk to people. I really enjoyed that kind of side of things, like going and speaking to like 4 or 5 different people at the one time, which is so strange to think about, but that's generally like what you done. And then
you spend 6 hours in school with the people, and then you go home and talk to them all night. That's what it was, wasn't it?
Well, I didn't really. It's funny though, because I didn't really speak to the people like. So when I was in school, the people that I hung about with, like up to like a certain year, I didn't really speak to them outside of school. I had like a different group. I hung about with people outside of school up until like a certain, up until I met you. Actually, I had a certain group of friends first through to third year, fourth year or whatever, and I didn't really speak to them in school, and we spent most of the time speaking to each other like actual like in real life, like rather than so the people that I spoke to on like MSN, like I spoke to like a lot of people, like different people in school or different other schools, or even like people in like different countries and stuff like that. Like I met people through I don't know if you ever know, there's a website called Habbo. It's like Habbo Hotel. You have this wee avatar and you have this like a room that you can put furniture in. It's this stupid another form of social media that it's just ridiculous when you look back on it, but like just shows you like all these different forms of it, as much as you didn't really like fully comprehend like that social media tag back in the day, because it was just something else. It was just a game that you played where you talk to people. Like that's what I saw it as, Habbo, because that's what it was. Even Bebo, it was just like everybody has one of them, and it's just people for school or family or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't really until like you start looking, as you get a wee bit older, and you start looking at the whole side of Instagram and Twitter and whatever else, like getting on Twitter and posting stuff and trying to like, I don't know. At first, when I first started using Twitter, I never used to post it, and I'd be too feared, generally too scared to post anything on Twitter, because I was like, what if I post something and no, like, I'm sure everybody's the same, but it's like, what if I post this and nobody likes it? Nobody like sees that. I mean, how stupid is that? Like, what does it matter? But it does affect you. And then it was like, well, what if I respond to this person and they don't? It's that conflict thing again. What if I respond, or what if I say this thing and they don't like what I've said, or say whatever it is, or I'll just not say anything. Then it's not really worth it. And fuck me, I wish I'd stuck to that, because when I then started to get to know people, when I started to get to know people more, the whole Twitch thing was a complete like blessing to me at the time that I found it, because I found so many. I came across like Hoodie, prime example. I came across some really, really. I would never take it back. Some really, really cool people, great life changing people that I've met through that. But as good as the finite a number of people that I've met, the other side completely fucking weighs them right off the scale. The day, I'm sorry, but the day, because
I can see my house from up here. I'm off the scale.
it's because there's just so much there's so much stuff on like social media these days now, where it's Twitter in particular. Like everybody keeps saying, "Oh, Twitter's a cesspool. Twitter's a cesspool." It's just it's like, yeah, because you have made it like that. Like you don't have to say everything. Yeah, you don't have to post about everything. Post every negative thing, everything. Like you don't have to do that. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. You don't have to, think that you need to correct everybody. You don't have to argue with everybody. You don't, genuinely, you don't.
See the anime I'm watching right now. There was a bit where he pops up his social medias, right? So it was like Instagram, but it was like, say, it was like Snapgram and stuff like that. It was just stuff like that. And he scrolls down and it gets to Twitter and it says mob itter. I was like, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
Absolutely perfect. So it's just that kind of thing where the whole cancel culture thing and all that kind of stuff. Twitter is so powerful. To put aside all that Elon Musk shit, I genuinely hope he burns the fucking thing to the ground, right? But put that to the side, right? Twitter for me, like over the years, has been really, really good because it's fucking quicker than the news. Like stuff breaks on Twitter quicker than any news channel or fucking newspaper ever could, because there's no fucking rules. You can post whatever the fuck you want, unvalidated, whatever. People just post shit. Oh, this has happened. Oh, there's a fucking person with a gun inside Asda. You're like, oh no, like, oh, I hope everybody's all right. I've light a candle for you, or that shit. And then it's like, oh, actually, it wasn't anything. Like, it doesn't matter. You can post anything. Or you get like news or like transfer news, or like somebody said stuff like letting celebrities onto that is like, it's funny, some of the funniest shit ever, because they just say like stupid stuff or whatever, and it's like, oh, I can't believe they just said that. I'm going to follow this kind of thing to see what happens. But there's just so much stuff on there that it's so hard to it's hard to switch off from it. It's become a very, like, I am so fucking addicted to this stupid fucking thing here. It's unbelievable. Like I genuinely don't. I don't go on it anymore. It's just completely affected my concentration. Just to the point that if I'm playing a game, I know everybody says this, so it's not woe is me for anybody fucking starts, right? Everybody does the same thing. If I'm watching, like, if I'm playing a game and then like something's happening, like I'll pick up my phone sometimes or whatever. So you're just trained to like fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So when I'm now then, like, say like at work, for example, and I'm like waiting for files to copy over or doing something or whatever it is, or even like, oh, I'm walking to the bathroom or I'm waiting for my food to heat up in the microwave, I'm like, oh, fucking on the phone, let's see what's happening. Like I don't like that. I don't like that side of things. I think that's just like, it's a total, like, you're not even letting your mind like completely, zone out or reflect on anything. So that idea of just being so fucking attached to your phone, like, that's wrapped in what I was trying to kind of get out of this topic, is how to try to come off of that, how to come away from that kind of thing in general. Like, and I don't think the answer is completely like, oh, I'm just gonna I'm gonna try and go a full day without my phone. Like, no, they're quite important, these things. Like, I use this to communicate, like, with my parents every day. Like, I phone my mum every day on the way home from work. I message Jillian, I talk to you, I message group chats, like with Hoodie and our good friend Ben. Like, those are real positive points in my day, being able to speak to people and whatever else. But it's just such a distraction having it. And as I've said, I've tried to kind of wean myself off of Twitter, but I genuinely fear that I'm just replacing it with something else. And that's right now, it's those like YouTube short videos or Instagram reels, like, where it's just quick 1 minute, like, all of a sudden 2 hours have passed. moments like where you're just like watching all these quick videos and stuff like this. I could do so many different like more useful things with my life than being on social media, but I cannot for the life of me switch off it. I don't know what that is. I don't know how, I don't know how to sort that. Deleting all the apps isn't the answer either, because I want to be able to like interact with stuff that friends have posted and whatever else, or I want to be able to promote this for us, or I like to go in and see specific things. I'm doing really good with it. It's not as bad as what I'm trying to make sure I stay away from the conflict side of things, which was the last kind of thing I wanted to mention about, is what you don't want to see, in terms of who you unfollow, what you want to hide, that kind of thing. Like, I've seen so many people, and me and Hoodie have joked about it before, like where it's like, I'm taking a break, guys, from social media. I'm going to go off now. I'll see you on the other side. And it's like 2 hours later, they're back at it like a bad fucking habit, And it's like, come on, man. If you want to take a break, take a fucking break. I followed somebody and they were like, what was it? There was something, I can't remember the reason, but basically they'd said something and there was a big kind of debate or whatever it was. I followed them because I thought some of their other tweets were quite interesting, and I'm just kind of follow it. And one of the tweets that they'd tweeted out not long after I'd followed them was, I see a lot of new people kind of here. I'm really sorry that I'll have to kind of let you guys down, and I'm actually going to just completely remove myself from social media, because it's just from Twitter, because it's just becoming too much. And I thought, oh, that's a shame. I'll just unfollow them then, because I don't there's no point in following you if you're not going to be tweeting fuck all anyway. So I unfollowed them, and then like I seen stuff that they were posting the other day, and I'm like, oh, they're back, and I clicked, and it's no, they just never left. Like, they just wanted to create this dramatic thing, and that's what it is about. That's what the whole thing on social media is about, is what can I say that's going to be dramatic enough for somebody to click that stupid heart button, so that they can get a wee bit of attention for a day. And I apologise, I don't mean for it to come off as so negative, because I think there's still some really, really good things that can come out from social media, and the dopamine hits that you get are unbelievable. Like, I've got an Instagram reel with 1,000 views. That stupid cooking one that I posted the other week.
Stupid. Come on now.
1,000 people have watched that. That's crazy. So it's just a stupid thing about making food. I know you've already corrected me, but and and the worst thing is I feel so guilty about the fact that I enjoyed making that. Like, I don't know why. I just do. I don't want it. I'm like, because in my mind at one point I was like, oh cool, 1,000 people watched that. Well, I should maybe make another one of them, because I quite enjoyed that. But I'm like, no, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole, because what if I make another one and it doesn't get like plays? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, so I don't want to be in that. I just made it because I was like, I just fancy I'm making food. I feel good. I'm going to just make a wee thing, because I quite like seeing them. So should I be doing them because I actually liked doing it, and I just try and forget the whole like the interact. Do you know what I mean? The interaction side of it. Like, so if I do it and it doesn't get them, like, should I just try and do that without even looking at it? Because I'm not looking at the plays. It's this Instagram stupid app tells me that 1,000 people. I don't know how many people have played it.
Your next one needs to have the TikTok voice woman. I just got home. Going to make my Nando's pasta.
100%. Oh man,
that's 10,000 likes.
I will do that, but only if it's you doing the TikTok thing, and
I'll
send it, and you voice it over. So yeah, I don't have too much more. Like, I'll throw it at Hoodie, because I'm sure he could probably touch on a good few things that I've mentioned. I didn't want to like go and be like, oh, that's my early bit, and then throw it back and forward. Like, I just thought that it would be better just to kind of run through. Like, how I was kind of feeling about it. I'm sure I'll come back in, but That's just generally how I feel just at the minute about social media in terms of how I've evolved with it, and it's really just been a thing with the time. Like it's been, if there's stuff to talk about or whatever it is, following like say kind of funny and all that kind of stuff over the years. There always was that kind of some sort of kind of community talking online kind of thing, but I'm just no one for that. I just enjoy seeing or watching content and stuff, but I don't really enjoy watching or listening to most of the people that talk about it. So I just trying to like wean myself back, bring it way back a wee bit, and make sure that I'm kind of looking after me.
Yep.
When I saw the doc and I saw your topic, no offense to either of us, Gary, but I thought this was the most interesting and relevant one, where thinking about what social media has done to society, and keep in mind, society is 25% of America. I can't account for the rest of the percentages of the world, but Twitter is 25% of this country. That's barely a drop in the bucket when you really think about it. And so it is an incubation chamber, it is an echo chamber for two different mentalities. And I think it was a destruction of all personality, where I jumped onto social media very young with MySpace. I think that was my first introduction to, oh, this is kind of fun, this is interesting. But that was a hub for community, similar to what you were saying early on for Habble, I think is what you called it. That's what MySpace was for me. And I think MySpace was a creative outlet to, oh, I'm going to design my page and it's going to be fun and colorful, and here's some music that I'm embedding, and here's all these other little fun, widgets that you can add, and it's like a small personal experience that you're enjoying. And that turned into, oh, Toontown Online. That looks fun. And it's a game now that I'm experiencing that same kind of camaraderie in a small community, but now I'm getting to play a game. Toontown Online was very important to me in my life in socializing. I'm a child of homeschool. I did not have a very big social life early on. I had friends later on, but I think friendships, this would have been a great segue for the third topic. But for now, I think friendships at that time were very much singular moments that I had more than long-term things. And that's where Toontown Online changed that for me, where I made friends on there that I talked for years with, that carried over into the 360 era. And Xbox Live was my next upgrade into what I consider to be social media, which is any kind of social interaction that is coming from an online stance. And I think all of that connectivity and that integration into my life kept bleeding in more and more, where that became almost an identity, whether or not it's the same kind of... I tend to try and uphold the person I am online the same way I am offline. And I like to stand by that as much as I can without, I don't like sacrificing my morals or ethics for some kind of goal. And that's how I've maintained my online experience throughout wherever I am. But it is that thing where you start to micromanage through this 360 era for myself. Oh, okay, well, I'm spending so much time on Xbox Live now. It is almost more than half of my life, because I have to be like, well, I've got this game at 6. Oh, I've got to be in this party chat to discuss the league at this time. Yada, yada, yada. It's now becoming a part of my life. I can't just turn it off anymore. And then comes cell phones, which I think are the detriment to all humanity at this point. We are so reliable on these things. We are so addicted to them that we forget that we even have to remember phone numbers when it really counts. We can't even put down our phone and simply remember our own phone numbers half the time, let alone anyone else's. And I think that is such a scary place to be. So when social media was introduced to that same addiction and that same reliable and dependent source of information, and we no longer looked outside of that, that bubble just consumed everyone, including myself, which started with Instagram. And I think that is what created a lot of my depressive thoughts. It created a lot of my anxiety. And that was so early on and so ingrained in a child that it was hard to ever shake. And I think of how many kids right now are being inundated with it on a much larger and faster scale, and it is getting to you in seconds rather than minutes or days like it was for me back in my era of the beginning of this. Like, Instagram to me was, here's this, shoddy filter that's like a sepia and, a weird picture of like a notebook with a drawing in it. And I got a few likes from friends or whatnot, but then I moved on. But then jump cut to where we are today and how much we all rely on it and depend on it. And it's our social interaction. Most of us do not have friends offline. There is that reality now where so many of the people that I talk to say, well, no, everyone I know is here. I don't have anybody else. And that is just a factor of why I think social media is so scary. But I will say, without it, that platform you were talking about, Mac, is very important as well. I say all of the scary things because there are so many positives to go with it. I think the fact that I have met both of you and you two created this thing and then brought me on would have never happened without social media. It would have never been a reality. Podcasting probably would have never been a reality. I'm not going to tell your story, but even your relationship, right? How important was that to you with social media, Mac, and understanding like that aspect of it and how important that impacted your life? The same way friendships have impacted mine. I wouldn't be at the place I am confidence-wise or cared for or supported without it. So I understand the qualities and the negatives, the spectrums that they come from, and the far sides of it. But I think social media is far more bad than good personally. The same way you're thinking of the scales. It is a scary thing to think about. I mean, and this is all going to be long-winded. I'm going to go the same route as you did, Mac, where these are just all my thoughts and whatever have you. But the other element that I've added in is art, right? And whether I'm good or bad does not matter. It is the fact that I have taken it upon myself this year alone to upload a single drawing every single day. And I will keep doing it until we get to the end of the year and we'll see where we go. But playing into what you said early on, do I want to post this? Because what if nobody likes it? What if nobody responds to it? What if nobody interacts with it? All of those things affect me, affect so many of my friends, where you are always second guessing your quality of life and your worth in this place that we are at, where I don't think in reality most of us would have experienced if we hadn't had social media. I think most of us would have, sure, had second guesses, sure, maybe overthought some things, but not on the scale that social media creates. Because there are times where I'll put out a drawing to have one like. And although I am greatly appreciative of any likes, it is that thing of, oh, so this was bad. That's the only way I can take that, right? This was bad. Nobody else liked it. And that's horrible to think, somebody who was 14 in this era of social media interacting with that. Oh, I put out this picture and that is their only sense of value is so scary. I worry for what that does to kids especially, and even the adults that I talk to, like how much it has affected them to the point where they become paralyzed to the idea of doing anything. Like you said, oh, I made this video that was really successful. What, do I want to put out another one? Now you're starting to second guess it. Now you're doubling down on what social media does best. Makes us doubt everything we know. We lose what I began with, morals and ethics that we believe in, because social media is tricking us into this idea that you have to sacrifice something in order to get somewhere or do something or succeed. And what is a measure of success anymore? Because so many people measure it by numbers. But shouldn't it be the growth that you earned, the growth that you have developed in your craft, whatever it may be? I think that is a measure of success we no longer take into account. We only take into account quantity, not quality. And all of these things are working in this, again, this incubation chamber to really recondition us, really make us focus in on things that aren't real, that don't matter. And then the echo chamber saying all of those things and validating all of those things because I put out a post and you know what? Somebody on it said that I am not good at art. Oh, you're right. That one person did say that. 40 people liked this post, but that one person said they didn't like this piece of art. So I'm a bad artist because I've been reconditioned to think that's the value of what I am. That's all I am. I'm one comment. I'm one like. And there's nothing more to it. And it's so depressing. And I think mental health is a big factor in this conversation of it is rising higher and higher and higher because social media is such a detriment to society and so damning to many, many people, whether it is 25%, that's enough to say, well, that can spread. Like the impact that social media has had on world events, on political driven agendas, to health, to countries, entire regimes. Like it's undisputable how powerful this platform is. And that's good and bad, but I think it leans far more into the bad space. And I continuously worry about that. I continuously think, oh, we have to stop. We have to get away from this. As much positivity as any of us can create, as much positivity as any of us can do, somehow it always gets drowned out. Somehow it's always outweighed because the algorithm says negativity is more popular. Negativity is more interesting. Half the things I listen to are driven because, well, I kind of want to hear them shit on Avatar too. Like that would be fun. And that's just the reality. But at a point, and I've reached it, where I go, no, I can't even listen to this. Like if you're going to shit on this thing just for the sake of it and you have no constructive criticism, I have to move on. Like there's so much negativity. And I hope that, you know, it swings the opposite way where I'm going even. And where you've gone, where you're like, I'm trying to wean myself off this because I understand what's happening here, down to the point where people are capitalizing on suicide. People are capitalizing on self-harm. People are capitalizing on depression or anxiety as not even in the virtue signaling standpoint. They are also capitalizing on the I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't feel good. And then the next day they're fine and they put out a poll about how on a scale from 1 to 10, how good was I at being depressed? And that is another scary thing. People are putting out dance videos on TikToks where they are just dancing and smiling and happy while they're telling these unbelievably disturbed and morbid stories. And although I am a big proponent for mental health and making sure that it is destigmatized to the fullest extent, that we understand that everyone needs to talk, everyone needs to be heard, everyone needs to understand they are not alone. There is a level of clout chasing that we're using mental health for now. And that is playing into everything I'm saying of what has this done to us? What has this reduced us to? Our ethics and morals are just being erased more and more and more. And it's so scary to watch. And it's so scary to just be a bystander or be an active participant. And none of it matters. None of it. Even the bad stuff doesn't really matter because we have all become cynical and jaded who are in this bubble. It is a frightening reality. I think, you know, most people can use it casually, and that's great. But I think there are a lot more in the majority that are using it and going, well, what's my self-image? What's my self-worth? What is my value? And question it all based off of a like or an interaction. And that isn't what people are. We are far more than one singular moment on something that is a bunch of zeros and ones. This isn't real. None of it's real. The friendships we can make, they can be very real. The interactions we have and the arguments we have and the lack of interaction we have isn't real. It just isn't. It isn't a value. You are valuable no matter what. You have to remember that. You have to take that in and go, okay, just because I feel in this moment, this is not the reality. Turn off your phone. Put it down. Go somewhere else. Hell, even though it is not the right way that I go about it, I will shut off my phone and I will disappear for a long period of time, as many of my friends know, and they are so gracious in letting me come back and being just as normal as can be. But it is a thing that I actively participate in where I have to disappear because my panic attacks are getting out of control because I'm so consumed by this thing, and it's so easy to get caught in that you don't realize it's an addiction. I think that's the scariest part is you don't realize it's an addiction before it's too late. So I think social media has been this thing that more and more I'm understanding is of no value if it is such a detriment to all of us and how we interact with each other, and even down to the bare minimum of, oh, I liked this thing. Fuck you. You're not allowed to like that thing. You fucking idiot. What's wrong with you? Like, come on. Would you do that in real life? I would do that between you guys, but we're friends and we're just joking around and we know that. But these people, most of the time, aren't. It's like, well, what happened to our civility? Even that's gone. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously there's majority of that I fundamentally agree with. It's just it is becoming just a huge proponent. I have a huge respect for people who are able to kind of completely like stay off it to however that is they need. Like say my mum, like she's not on any sort of social media, not even Facebook, nothing whatsoever at all. Just does whatever it is. I think during the week she's just she'll come home and she'll make her dinner, she'll do her irons and watch TV or read a book or whatever it is, or talk to my sister or do whatever, tidy the house, go to sleep. Like it's like that's the kind of thing that you know what I mean, like you can go on WhatsApp and message people and have that kind of side of things, like without having to then go down the whole route of having to like put a poll up, as you say, or go and fish for likes. Like I should genuinely should like post more things, like not out of like, oh, this thing got loads of views, so really I should post it. Like I should just do whatever I feel like doing because I take the notion to do it. It shouldn't. I don't even think that Instagram should be telling me how many plays, because it's literally like, you got all these plays, why don't you create another one? And it's like, I don't want to do that because of the plays. I just want, if I want to do it, it's because something else that I can cook that I like making, and I want to make a wee silly wee video. So and see, to be honest, like my memory is shocking, like ridiculously shocking. I think it might be a lot of it to the whole kind of anxiety thing or whatever, but my memory's getting ridiculously worse. So there's actually a lot of times that I'll post stuff on places and forget that I posted it. So maybe that's a huge benefit for me, because I don't go looking to see who's reacted to it or whatever, because I just generally don't check. Like, so people, I sometimes get interactions and I'm like, who's interacting with me, or like I don't really have a lot of interactions with people on Twitter. So when the wee speech bubble comes up, well, it's like somebody's reacted to or responded to something I've said. I'm like, what? I don't even remember speaking to anybody, and I'm like, oh, I'm speaking to Andy, like as an Andy Mac, who I play CFEs with. I don't remember like what things that I've posted. You'd mentioned something. I don't know entirely if I picked you up wrong, in terms that you'd said something about how like me and Gary's relationship was in terms of social media, but I would say that Gary and me are. He is the least person that I interact with on social media. If you discount WhatsApp, I don't interact with Gary whatsoever on anything.
To clarify, I meant as the podcast goes. Like the podcast wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
the idea that you could do this kind of thing, I guess, is more of the sense. Not that you wouldn't be friends or you interact on social media.
Because even like back, we didn't really use social media quite a lot back when we first had the idea of doing this. Like I was on Twitch, but not really on social media. It was just the idea of like I was creating it, but didn't really have the confidence or the knowledge for like how we would do this and post it. Like I always thought that me and him would have to be in the same room, and that was just never going to happen. Just because I didn't have the space for it. And Gary left with his parents at the time, and I always thought that you had to have the mixing thing and the headphones and you know, 2 mics, and you had to be in the same place. So I don't quite know if like technology was there for us to be in our you know, to be there for us then. And I think like a huge you know, component to this was me like picking up Twitch. So I probably would say social media that did have its positive sides to things, because I had all this stuff set up anyway, and it was just something that, you know, we'd always spoke about it, but it would always be like, I don't know, Gary, what, maybe like once a year at sometimes. It was like a thing that we would come up in and we would speak about it, or we'd mention it every couple of months. Be like, we really need to get this podcast, you know, thing. It was just something that we'd talk about every now and again, and it was never anything too serious. And then, you know, we kind of get spurred on thinking, do you know what, fuck it, let's just fucking try this. Like, and it was actually like over like the course of like a weekend that we started like firing together all the socials and what we were going to do and creating all this stuff. And then like the following week or through that week, we like just came together and recorded an episode to see what it would be like. So I think, yeah, the building blocks were definitely there. So we have to, you know, pay respect to social media for that side, if you want to call it that. But it's just something that that as you've probably said yourself, Hoodie, that the negatives are too strong in this one. In terms of, you know, what you've got out of it, you know, because, you know, genuine, like, I don't, it's like, just say like the big things that people talk about online and people fall out with. Like, I hate conflict. I hate seeing conflict.
Yeah.
Even like as much as like, I don't even like watching like TV shows when there's like something's going to happen and, you know, that person's they're going to like start like falling out with each other and whatever else. Like, I get it's like quite cringy for me. I don't even want to like watch it and want to take it in. Like, I just don't enjoy that side of things. But social media has like opened this kind of curiosity thing for me, where I'll go looking for it if I know it's there. Like, something's happened and I'm like, I'm going to go and look, oh, what have they said, exactly. And it's like, why why did you know, I've just spent an hour reading about this person's fell out with this person because they've said this. Like, I could have went and, I don't know, like played games or enjoyed myself or went for a walk or fucking anything. Exactly. So I don't, I never really intended for this to be like, to have this kind of negative, like fully negative topic, and I don't think it has been. We have already spoke about like a lot of positives that have came for it. So I mean, before I kind of throw, unless Hoodie's get any more, but for throw it back to or over to Gary, I should say. But there is positives to, you know, social media. I have said that I've replaced one addictive thing of scrolling the timeline on Twitter with, you know, YouTube Shorts, but I'm getting better with it, with YouTube Shorts. I think being like recognizing that habit and that frequency is really, really important. Limiting like times for you using that is really key. So that's really good. And there is other platforms that, depending on what it is that you're looking for, like that you are obviously going to like have a good time online with it. Like say, I'm quite a fan of Reddit. It is really full of absolute fucking morons, but they know they are, if you know what I mean. Like it's very self aware and it's very limited in terms of like who's speaking to who, and plus I don't know anybody on there.
Yeah.
So it's I really enjoy Reddit for that side, because it's just like, oh, I'm going to have a look at these funny, and it's just more like meme centric as opposed to like people's opinions about things.
Yeah.
So, and you can genuinely like see a lot of these posts without seeing the comments. I think comments is the biggest issue of any form of social media. Somebody like without going into it, but you look at this Mr. Beast and the stuff that keeps coming out, where it's like, oh, this, he's just doing this to make money, or he's not really that nice or whatever. And I'm not trying to weigh in on it, but like, who fucking cares, man?
Yeah.
Like, who really genuinely cares? Like, what you think he's not making? Obviously, he's making some money. Yeah, it's said that he's putting it all back in. The guy's made these charity incentive things, whoever that is, has done, but like planting trees and removing plastic for the ocean, whatever else, and all that stuff. And he's gave away cars and money and all sorts of foolishness shite, like 1 million pennies and all that shit, and then he gives them to people and then takes them away and gives them money and stuff. Like, I don't get how people can be that, like, can see that and perceive him to, like, to not be like generous in that side. Like, they just want to like shit over things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the guy's perfect. I don't know the guy. I don't care if he's done something heinous. Fine, whatever. Sue me. Who gives a fuck? But it's just like, do we really need to like go out our way to be negative? Like, why can we not just be nice? Like, what happened to the old saying, like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't fucking say it? You know what I mean? Like, why no? Why is that not a thing anymore? Like, do we really just have to just weigh in on everything? Like, and then be annoyed that other people don't agree with like what you've said because you said something negative? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing for me.
Absolutely. I think there are two parts to what I'm going to say to that. Is the first part, I don't understand where we got lost in the mix of we can all like our own things. And then also to that, you can express your opinion, but don't make it in a derogatory sense towards someone else's opinion. Why do you have to demean what everybody else thinks? You could also share, oh, but I did like this part about it. I understand what you're saying. I liked this. And so now you're just having a dialogue. You liked that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I didn't like this. And you're fine with that. It's not, no, you're wrong. Well, how is my opinion wrong? It's mine. It's not yours. I'm not wrong. I just don't think like you. That's the difference. And I think I've even lost it at points where I'll just get sucked up in my own head and be like, oh, no, that's totally wrong. That's like, no, it's not. No, what are you talking about? Also, why do I even care? It's a thing about Spider-Man. What does this matter to me? It's Spider-Man. Who gives a shit? He's not real. I love him. That's it. We can move on. But yeah, I think that is one side of it. The other side, to be more positive, because I did have the emotional response to what I think social media has done to us, and watching as an observer mainly, because I think out of the three of us, I'm on it more than anybody here, where I'll spend a lot of time going through making sure I like as much as I possibly can of those in my circle and even those outside of my circle. And that's usually because I've curated it to see a lot of art. I love art. I'm a big fan of it. I like drawing. I like watching other people draw. And I think that's what social media has done for me in the positive of, wow, the amount of things I have learned or felt good about seeing because I got to see Gary's paintings because I got to see Mac's photoshops and even his drawings that he shared and been generous with along with Gary. And I think all of those things are so important in my life to see and to make sure other people see and appreciate. I think there are people who are genuinely out there trying to change a lot. You know, they really are trying to do good as much as social media can be bad. There is good and they are doing good things. I think Mac is a proponent of this with Safe in Our World. I think there are so many others in our circle alone that do take advantage of their platforms, big or small. They are out there trying, and that's what matters. And to that is where I go. I don't leave social media because I know all of that I said, you'd go, why don't you just get off of it? Because there is hope and there is good. And if I believe in that and I think that, I can't abandon that. It's the same way I wouldn't want to abandon anyone in my life, because at some point, maybe they'll need me, maybe they won't, but I want to make sure I'm there. I want to make sure I'm a part of their lives. I want to celebrate what they're doing. I think Mac and I shared this on an episode of why we got into the Kind of Funny community, because of Ben and KFAF, and those factors play into it. Of I saw Ben's photoshops and I said, I got to retweet that. I got to create a Twitter. I'm going to go on there and I'm going to share it. And it's not going to matter to him. He doesn't know me, and nobody's going to see it because I have no followers. But I just know that I wanted to support that. And I think that's the good part of social media, is the amount of love and support you can find and can foster. I think all of our friends are a testament to that, and how much they support and encourage us. I think Jillian is my number one fan. And I could not do it with her. She's such an extraordinary person, and I love her dearly for how much she supports what I do and encourages me. And I think people like her are the reason that social media should exist, because it can make people feel more confident. It can make people better. I think there's a lot of bad, and I don't change my stance on that. It probably outweighs it. But if there's a shot, you got to take it. You got to try and hope that it pulls through in the end. And much like you, yeah, I kind of hope Twitter burns to the ground, but that's only because I think something good can come out of it. Just like every other social media that has failed, something good came out of it. Twitter didn't start bad. Twitter got bad. And there's a chance that once Twitter goes away, the next platform can be the thing that starts good and hopefully stays good this time. So that is the hope, and that is why I wouldn't leave the internet, because I think there's too much potential, and potential is just a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Gary waiting patiently in the wings, taking it all in, consuming it all.
Fucking glad I went last in this one, that's for sure.
I know. Out of the three is you do probably use social media the least. I don't think it's been a large proponent of your kind of habits. You've kind of come on and off it. It's fair to say, but I'll let you speak for yourself rather than me speaking for you.
So, like Sean, like Donna time, I was that same dial-up internet, fighting your mom for internet time on the Messenger and Bebo, as we said earlier, talking to people just in your side of social circle. And then it was the kind of dawn of Facebook. What I really liked about Facebook at the time was I wrote it down here. I just kind of used it as a good time blog. And I think that's what Facebook always started out was. It was people you knew in that small community, people like your family, friends, and it was just like, I'm having a date with Sean. Oh, I'm going on holiday. Here's some of my pictures, and it was just always like, oh, it looks great, well done. Oh, blah blah blah, have a good time, etc. etc. So that's why I always liked Facebook. Facebook was always a platform for that. It was just always for people you know. And it's a sort of community, a wee small internet community. Is just always everybody praising you, which is when you get to like Twitter and Instagram. No, Instagram actually. I wouldn't say Instagram's negative. I think it's got negative qualities, but I don't think it's a negative platform. Whereas I think Twitter, I know we're pure badgering on Twitter here, but I literally wrote Twitter is the currency is negative. That's what I think Twitter is. I found myself using Twitter when we started this podcast, and I was doing my art as well. I think the problem with Twitter is everything just gets buried in Twitter. Like you can literally, I could write about 150 things in one day, and you'll be lucky if you get like 2 likes because everything gets buried so quickly. And so which that means is everything is so unimportant. Nothing's important on Twitter. Anything that's important on Twitter is when somebody's arguing about it, which was the problem with me because I don't engage in people's social medias really at all. You know, I like Hoodie, for example, is art. I'm just like, there's a like, just a wee like comment. You know, it's usually like got emojis or something like that. I usually put something like that or a GIF or something. You know, that's kind of as far as I go. I don't really go in for in-depth conversations on social media. But I was finding myself with Twitter when I was using it more. I totally was getting addicted to the scrolling, just one more scroll. And then I was starting to get into this weird way where I was starting to argue with people or stupid stuff.
Really? Let me see that.
It was like weird stuff. It'd be like somebody talk about like Last of Us, and they'd be like, "Oh, Last of Us is pure shit," and I'd be like, "How's it fucking shit? How do you call a game that's like 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 a fucking shit game? What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about." And this went on for about 2 weeks, and I kept doing it.
I never seen it. I missed this.
And I was, again just shows you Twitter just fucking doesn't matter. So this was happening, and I was doing it. And do you know in that way, when I was scrolling, I was like trying to look like for a good way to explain this. Right, I'm a Rangers fan. It's a football team in Glasgow. There's Rangers and Celtic are the big ones in Glasgow. So I would say I'm just more Rangers orientated. I'm not really a fan. So I would be looking up the Rangers scores on Twitter and stuff like that. As Sean said, it's always a good place for news to get it first hand. But then, see, when I was starting to scroll, it was starting to show me loads of Celtic stuff. And I'm like, this is just this, you're wanting me to argue with people? Like, my Twitter was full of Celtic won this, or Celtic signing this person, Celtic doing this, Celtic doing that. And I was like, it's literally showing me the opposite team just so I can go on and comment. And see, when you go on and look at all the comments, it is all like the opposite fan base. Like literally, it'll be like 3 or 4 that's like a Celtic fan. Like if it's a Celtic post, it'll be 3 or 4 that's a Celtic post, Celtic fans, and then the rest of it will be like fuck Celtic, blah blah blah. These are all bastards, and there's like 75 of these. It just totally outweighs. It's just bulk for arguing. But anyway, so I found myself starting to argue with people, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? And I was finding myself scrolling, as we were saying. And I just felt like, one day, do you know what? I fucking don't need this. Like, this Twitter is just no for me. Like, I don't know this addiction. I've never had an addiction like that before in any social media. Yeah, you know, I would just post stuff on Facebook, and it's just like, right, send, goodbye. I'll maybe go back and comment if somebody comments and stuff like that. But Twitter was like literally like I'd be commenting, and I'd be like waiting for it, you know. I'd be like this, like waiting for that wee fucking tweet thing to pop up, and I'd be like, oh fucking somebody's answered me, you know. It was really, really weird. So I just be like one day, you know what, fuck this. I just totally took the app off my phone, and then after that, I've just kind of just stayed like that with kind of all social medias. I've still got Facebook and Instagram. I do have my Twitter, but I only use it for the podcast. Instagram I use a lot more. I don't really use it actually. Really, post like you're lucky if I do what I post a month. I used it a lot for my art, but that was just purely for using it for my art. It's not like I was just to get out there, you know. Social media is such a powerful tool, especially for people that have got like art and stuff like that, or any creative thing or shop or whatever. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. All you need is that one picture, and that you could be like a fucking millionaire. You know what I mean? Just to go global. It's just like you've been in this situation, not a millionaire situation, but you've been in the situation where like Netflix for yourself. Like commented in your post and shared it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, like you got fucking stupid amount of likes for that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it is magic in a way, and it does hit that high part of your brain where you're like, oh, wow, 1 million people saw this. Yeah. That's insane. And then you chase it, and when it doesn't reach there, you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? That's the downside to it. It's like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. No, that was just a 1 in a million shot. But it is true. Like, when you do get that, it is extraordinary, and it can change your life for certain people.
Yeah, it can. So that's really what I use my Instagram for. Twitter, I'm totally off it now, apart from about this podcast. It was just post there now and again. But I've just totally took myself away from Twitter. I can't really add anything more what the guy said. I totally agree with everything about Twitter. And my social medias, they're obviously on it. Like Sean was saying about his... you got 1,000 views. Why don't you do another one? There's always that hook. It's that hook carrot and the stick into it.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to chase it. It's as soon as I started putting my art up, Instagram starts emailing you. Oh, you should have a professional account, and you should do this. Oh, why don't you start advertising?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I know that
shit. I have to say, I basically don't go on my Facebook now at all. I don't go on Twitter. Instagram, I go on sometimes, but what I like about Instagram is I never really notice a lot of negativity on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think, I think it's this good way with Instagram is, see if you don't like it, you just keep scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. There's nothing vocal about it. You don't need to comment. You don't need to think it. It just seems to be a platform. It's just like, here's a picture. You can take what you want from it. You can like it, or you can just fucking move on. And that's what I really like about Instagram. I think it's a much better platform than what Twitter has turned out to be.
Yeah.
The thing I'm getting addicted to is the videos, but
I
find myself watching wee shorts. Do you know that way? I was like, I'm stopping that. I'm not doing that anymore. Sometimes I still Sean a couple of them, but. That way, I'm like, I'm going off it. But you know what I've done? I've just started watching YouTube instead. It's like I've just replaced it. I wouldn't say I'm addicted. It's not an addiction, but it's just like something that's like, I've got 20 minutes, right? Maybe I'm doing something, but it's going to take 20 minutes. Like I'm doing a washing or something like that. Give me 20 minutes to watch something. So right now I'm watching, I don't know if I can say this if this goes on YouTube. It might end up saying it wrong. Hardcore Pawn, Pawn, Pawn. It's just like, it's like
Pawn Stars.
It's like a schemey version of Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like a pawn shop that people just buy actual stuff, like Pawn Stars is like, here's the Holy Grail. I found it in my backyard. Whereas hardcore pawn is just like, I've got a washing machine. Want to buy it? And it's like fucking washing machine that doesn't even work and all that kind of stuff. So I've started watching this. I started watching this for like 20-minute episodes, and it's pure trash telly. But I just don't watch that. I'm just pure addicted. But I think that's what I kind of replaced with podcasts. That's what I do nowadays. I don't really go on social media nowadays. It's just more I've replaced my social media just with podcasts or something to keep me occupied for that 20 minutes where that kind of social media would have been. And I think that's maybe the way that I've kind of helped myself come off all that.
Yeah. That's such a good way to do it. Because I think your thought process of, well, I'll just replace one thing instead of going cold turkey and just cutting it all off. I'm just going to replace it with something positive. Like that's always the way to do it. I think Mac, you touched upon it. If you don't like seeing something, or you feel like your emotions are getting elevated seeing something, mute them, block them, remove them, unfollow them, do whatever you want. They'll never know. They don't tell them. Don't worry about it. You're not affecting anybody's, status or you're not disrespecting anybody or making anybody feel bad by protecting your own well-being when doing that. So, I mean, it's my version of, well, I only like things that are art related. So art only shows up on my timeline. And the things that I do like are usually positive if they're saying something. I don't like negative things. I like things that will say nice things. And that's what I want to see. And so what you're doing, Gary, to curate I mean, even taking out podcasts, right? I think there are a few out there who just like to be negative for the sake of being negative. And it is trying to cut them out and replace them with people who aren't, overly positive or anything. You don't need to do that. But it is content that will make you feel good, whatever it may be. Seeing people sell a wash machine can easily be one of them.
Yeah. I think Joe Rogan's podcast is a great podcast. I like him or hate him. I don't know if people do hate him, but I just like the variety. The variety he has on that show. You learn so much, and he has science professors on, and those the ones that I really like are when he has people that are hunting. They're professional hunters and stuff like that. I find that so fascinating. In that way, kind of way, after you listen to a 3-hour podcast and you think to yourself, should I go and hunt?
There you go.
I think that opens my mind up. His podcast really opened my mind up. Whereas, as you were saying, if you listen to some shite or somebody just moaning like we've been doing for the last 2 hours, you're only going to get negative thoughts for it. Whereas if you listen to a podcast, it's actually about a subject that you're interested in, or like Joe Rogan's, which is just about different stuff that you can pick and choose whatever you want to listen to. It actually opens your mind up to conversations in your own mind that you could be like, so could I hunt? Could I actually go out there and kill an animal? I'm a person who eats meat. Could I do this? And that's the kind of conversations I have the kind of thoughts I have in my own mind when I listen to podcasts like this. So I think dropping for social media and actually adding more podcasts, or as you say, just Car Crash Telly, Podstars is Car Crash Telly, but it's just something to just be it's just different. It's different. You're having different social interactions and maybe even educating yourself sometimes accidentally.
Yeah. Well, I think that's my thing where I bring up MinMax a lot, where I've listened to them since their birth of their channel, and beyond that when they were on Game Informer. And I think listening to their insight into the games industry and listening to their love of devs and really appreciation of video games has helped me appreciate video games so much more. Not that I didn't, but it is that thing of, boy, do I not understand what goes on here, and developers deserve so much love, even for the worst of it. Even when we were talking about Horizon, trying to bring up constructive criticism than just shitting on something, I think is very important. And I think MinMax has fostered that in me, where I don't want to just say something's bad and not have a reason. I want to give an example of why, so they're not thinking that I just think they're bad developer. The amount of work that goes into game development is unbelievable. And at the end of the day, they're all people and they are all making something. And they are not this random entity that we could all shit on. So it's important to remember that. I think MinMax has helped me in that way, similar to what you're saying, where listen to things that inform you or make you feel good or help you feel encouraged to do whatever it may be, agree or disagree. But, I think that's important.
Yeah. And if it was a Twitter post, it'd be your game shite. Here's a bit to your life.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's in a nutshell. Also, if you do, you mentioned art quite a bit. If you do art, please keep it out there. Please keep doing it. Please put it out there. I really love seeing it. I know maybe one like doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things in that moment, but it matters to a lot of people who do see it and just don't like. That's also a very big possibility that people just aren't thinking about it. There are so many times I'll watch a YouTube video and I forget to like it and I go, fuck. And I got to go refresh and go back to the video just to like it because I just forget about it. It's such an easy thing to move on from. So just keep putting art out there. Listen, man, I'm putting one out every single day. And that's just so in 365 days, I could look back and see how much I've improved. Just do something silly. Draw a stick figure. Do something if you want, but don't let it, don't stop yourself because one like,
Yeah. Do you know what? The most amazing praise I've ever had for doing my art and stuff like that, there was a woman in my work who totally loved my art and stuff. and she kept asking me about it, and she was asking me like how she could get started, and I kind of said to her, you should do this and you should do that, you should do this, and now she started drawing and stuff like that, and then she started doing photography. And she always kind of said to me, she was like, "Oh, it was like because you started your art, like, and I had that knock on effect on me." And I was like, "It's like that you can't get that's just the highest praise. No like or comment could fix like that. That is just like stratospheric praise that you could just never take away for yourself."
It is really, it's meaningful in so many ways to just think, somebody smiled at this. Somebody was affected, and that's good. That's more than enough for me.
Definitely.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we covered the bases there between early journeys and stuff, and how social media is affecting us and the negative, but also very much in the positive as well. So I think fine tuning is key. I don't think the answer is completely removing it, just as Hoodie alluded to. It does bring a lot of positivity, and a lot of that has been in the form of friendships and stuff like that as well. So, and that probably brings us onto our Hoodie's topic, the final topic of the show. So I'll let Hoodie set the scene on the reason for choosing this as his first topic. So I take it away, Hoodie.
Okay, so mine plays into both of your topics, where I have made friends from both things, social media and games. And oftentimes I think, how did I make these friends? How did that happen? And so my topic is, how do you make friends? And more importantly, how do you maintain friendships? Because I think that's such a fine line and a dance that most people take for granted, how easily friendships can just disappear. And it's really doesn't have to be a big thing. Most people just fade away and that's it. But how do you maintain a friendship, let alone get one? I think is a topic that was important to me, because there are so many people that I'll see be like, I don't have any friends. I don't know how to make friends. Like, how do you even make friends? I'm assuming when we were growing up, you guys met in school, or you guys met on the playground, or for me, I didn't meet anybody in school because my school was a house and my only classmate was my mom. But when I did want to make friends, I'd go outside. It's a scary subject to talk about, but the outside world is a great place to meet people, or was, because when you were a kid, you were, restricted from these like fears of rejection, so you could easily do it. But as an adult, golly, it just feels like an uphill battle to make a friend. Like you're like, I don't want to reach out to this person. What if they hate me? What if we don't? Why would I want to do that? I might as well just be sad and alone forever. It's just easier to do that. So yeah, I want to know, how do you guys make friends in this era of humanity? And also, how do you guys maintain your friendship personally? Because I think that's also a great aspect to it, because you guys have been friends forever.
I mean, Gary, do you want me to step up first? I don't think Gary makes any new friends these days.
Nah,
especially online.
Friends.
Especially online. No, I think it's funny. I don't think there is. It's unfortunate to say, right? But I genuinely don't think there's like an exact science to making a friend, if you know what I mean, because there's just too many variables in there. Like if you see somebody, it's just a natural occurrence to get to speak to somebody, and some people, through no like fault of your own, just you can't force something. You can't force a friendship. You can't force something to happen. You either click or you don't. Some people need different levels of maintenance, if you want to call it that, in terms of like to make them from like an acquaintance to like a friend. And plus different people have different understandings of what a friend is. as well. I think one of the key initial things, if I was to take a shot at it, is really to have a look at understanding like how others like feel and like what their needs are, because everyone is different. Um, what I mean by that is like if you're speaking to somebody about something, especially like face to face, you've got a lot of kind of cues and stuff about what like interests that they like might have, or what they want to like, what their um how they receive something, or how they react to like how you're speaking to them or whatever, or what you're speaking to them about. Like I know that if I wanted to speak about a particular topic, like I can't really use Gary's example because we have a lot of like we share a lot of the same kind of interests or whatever, but just I know, and to be honest, Hoodie's quite a bad example as well, because he'll talk to you about anything and respond positively about anything. But just say that he didn't, right? If I was to talk about Hoodie, if I was to talk about like football with Hoodie, for example, right, he's not really into like sports and stuff. So if I was like a big sports guy and only wanted to talk about sports, then our friendship's not really going to go anywhere with that. Like it's just no, like, but in the same vein, like if we Gary, for example, if I let's just say I wanted to talk about Xbox stuff, right? Gary's no receptive to Xbox stuff, right? It's not really an exact example. I can't even really think of anything that I would want to speak about that Gary's no overly interested in, that I am interested in, right? I'm it's just
golf.
one of those. Golf, it's just that it's just one of the things like that you know the other person's doesn't really want to speak about it, so you just don't, like, you just have to be like what you just have to know what, or try and understand what the other person is looking to speak about in that conversation point. Like I don't think that purely exchanging comments back and forward on social media and stuff, like, you can keep a friendship going like through that, because I don't think you really get to know the person like by doing that. Do you know what I mean? So just purely like being on Twitter and being like, oh, I like that, or you like that, and you get like that kind of bond. Like it's a bond that's purely based on just that, as opposed to like how you feel like about that person, how trust that person, like how you kind of dialogue with that person.
I think
It's
there's
not.
there's a fine line between being friendly and being a friend, isn't there?
Yeah,
Like,
aye, no, 100%. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can talk to anybody, but like I don't consider everybody a friend or whatever. I could be friends with just about anybody, but it's just that's just my nature. I'm a genuinely friendly person, so it would takes like certain things to like either put me off people or whatever. But I can give a lot of people like benefit of the doubt as well. Like, you can watch like people in streams and things, and maybe they'll say something, or watch podcasts and friends podcasts, and hear like particular takes and stuff. So you can kind of slowly be like, "Oh, I'm not really agree with that. I'm not really into that," or even stuff that Gary says. Like I'm like, "Oh, fucking Gary, I don't agree with what Gary says," or even my, I don't. But it doesn't mean like that you oh, come on, I'm not kind of be friends with Gary anymore. That kind of side. So it's hard to say like how to make a friend. I would and be I don't know. I can imagine it would be incredibly overwhelming to try and like put a plan in place to make a friend, especially like in real life. And I could make a friend with the next person I seen outside, because I just am quite open to conversation with people. Like if I sense that they are as well, like for example, like I was walking today towards a shop to go in and get some rolls and juice and stuff, and it was freezing, like so cold. I didn't realize it was as cold as it was, but it was nice and sunny, but it was freezing. So I didn't put a jumper on, I just put my jacket on, and I walked into the shop, and there was a guy standing at the thing, and he had his high vis trousers on, So I was like, fuck, he's walking out of this the day as well. Like, it must be freezing. So I just walked up to him, and he kind of looked at us, but he looked like friendly enough, and I just said to him, I says, oh fuck, you working outside in this at all? And he's just kind of laughing. He's like, says, I always work. I work every day of the year out in this. He's like, makes you harder, whatever it was he'd said, and then he started talking about something, and that way, and I'd already walked past him, but he just kept talking. And like, I was only really looking to like say like a wee quick thing, but anyway, I know that I can, like, if I know like how that person, like, and just that quick interaction, like, I know how that person's, like, how to speak to that person, and not to say that I would change like who I am, but I just know how to converse with them. So if I wanted to be friends with that person, like, obviously it's just a randomer, but you have to have, generally you would want to have, a kind of common interest, and then just kind of see how things kind of go from there. I think maintenance, if you were talking about specifically, like, for me and Gary, like, we've been friends for quite a long time. I think initially obviously we went to school together, so we would see each other at school. But I'd say our friendship, like, mostly kind of strengthened through, like, going to like each other's houses and like playing games, and talking about all that kind of stuff, sorry, while we were like playing games and whatever else. But it's in no means been like plain sailing, rocky, fucking perfect story for the entire time. Like, why with like fell out or whatever, it's just, you just learn that, right, okay, just a couple of days later back to normal, because you value the friendship over whatever stupid thing it was that you were arguing about. That's just what it is. Like, I don't always agree, and he'll not always agree, and he want to talk to me, and I'll be busy at work and no answer him, and it's not like, oh, he's not fucking answered me, so I'm never messaging him again. It's just he's fucking busy, or he's doing something else, and you just forget, or Gary's body playing God of War, he's not talking to anybody then. Like, it's just what it is. Like, you have to give concessions. Like, it can't always be to whatever that person needs. Like, if I was to message Gary tomorrow and be like, mate, I fucking need something, I need this or whatever, like, he would be there for me the same way that I would be there for him. Like, if something was to happen, I'd be like, right, I'm coming, I'll come see you. Do what I go out. Like, we used to go drive and go and get like a couple of milkshakes or whatever. Like, just just if that's what we needed, like, he knows that he can go. I know that I can call him, and we would go and see whatever the other person needed. But if in day to day, like, you can't expect the same like level all the time, like from people. So, like, say, like, where I enjoy the side of friendship, like, that me and you have, Hoodie, where like, say, I'll message you at like a weekend, or if you are like, are you coming on like party chat, whatever. Like, Gary's no like a party chat person. I don't need to be playing games and be speaking to Gary at the same time. Like, I like Friday night gaming when we sit and do that, but I wouldn't reach out to Gary and be like, you coming on, because I know that he has his ways of playing games, and he's quite like not as social and that kind of side with that. Like, if he's playing like a game like Fortnite or whatever, then it's fine, but if he's not, then he's no. You know what I mean? So I don't expect that from him. So I don't need them to be present. I don't need most of my friends to be present to be friendly with them. I know that sounds like I'm trying to be funny, but I don't really need
appreciate the sentiment. I know what you're saying.
I don't really need to like say, like, just for example, if he listens, like, Andy Mack, who some of you will know, I speak to him like every now and again. Sometimes it's like once a month or whatever, but I would still, as much as I don't know him fully, like, personally, like, I have had a few times where you kind of speak to him, and I know like what he does, professionally, and I feel like I know him, and we're quite friendly. I'd say we were friends, as much as it's online, and it's fairly low maintenance in that side, where it's just some exchanges, or some DMs or messages, or whatever, or are we going and play games together, or that. Like, I do think of that as being something that you don't really need to, like, chip in or maintain. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that everybody has different levels, like completely different levels, and I don't think it's fully on like one person. Nor do I think that you should ever feel guilty for like if you're friends with somebody and that starts to like fade away. I think it's a natural, it's part of a natural part of the game. Like if you're speaking to people and you suddenly stop speaking to them, it is certainly a two-way kind of street, and you have to, it can't be personal that the other person starts to kind of thing away because maybe they've got other things on and you don't, they can't make as much time for you, and that's just what it is. It's just life. And I think life just generally does get in the way of all sorts of kind of friendships, and it's up to both people to, if they want to, then it's up to both people to be able to try and kind of carve a wee bit of time out to spend with the other person if that's what it needs.
Yeah. I think all of that is so important, and I agree with a lot of how much you need to be realistic about what you're doing and what you're creating in a friendship, because I think that's what movies tend to get wrong is like, we've been best friends forever and we live together and we go on road trips and like we're doing all this stuff. Yeah, that can happen. I think it's definitely happened between you two, right? But that's also a lot of years and a lot of time, and again having ups and downs here and there, and understanding that that's a big part of it. I think coming from my end of the spectrum of most of my friends are online, right? I have the few offline, and I've known them for years, and sure, we'll go to a movie or something like that every once in a while, but the strongest friendships I have are all online, right? And to make friends, like you said, isn't this formula that you can hit these beats and do it, because so much plays into it now. So much of it is because there is an anxiety of rejection, and can I make a friend is already a question that you're having anxiety over. But the easiest way for me personally was going on Twitch. I think Twitch is a great way to just talk with people passively and continue to talk passively over time, and eventually, oh, you know what? I'm on Twitter. Are you on Twitter? Okay. Now you've moved over to Twitter. Now your friend's there. I think that's what happened with Mac and Me, the movie, not Mr. Mac and Me. But the thing is like, you create friendships organically most of the time. Nothing can be a science, and that sucks. And I know it sucks because I've been at that point of like, man, I don't have any friends and I don't know how to make friends, and this is just sad. But if you put yourself out there and try and understand like rejection is a part of it, it's gonna happen. Things are very fleeting. Not everything is permanent, and more now than ever, fleeting is a good word to use for a lot of interactions, because I like to think I have a good amount of friends. And that's the other thing. Just having tons of friends shouldn't be your goal. Having one good friend is more than enough, right? Like, that's something you should look forward to. Not, oh, I don't have 200 friends. Yeah, but that's not the point. Do you want 200 friends or two really good friends, right? Because that is a big aspect of friendship, is making sure that I maintain it the best I can and being present in somebody's life, making sure that I'm there. But there are a lot of people on Twitter that I am very friendly with. Like you said, it's a fine line. I talk to everybody. I'm all over the place. You'll see a reply from me in 50 different fucking tweets. and although I would consider everybody a friend, but realistically, it's probably just being friendly. But there are those few. Like, it's a spectrum. Johnny and I, we'll message back. He'll send me an awesome picture of ducks, and I'll send him a funny fucking video, and we'll go back and forth that way. And
did you say ducks or dicks there?
Dicks, really massive throbbing dicks. And I'm like, where are you getting these? And Johnny's like, you know where I'm getting them from. And I'm like, is that a phone in your pants? Or are you happy to see me? Oh man, Johnny, calm down. Anyways, So once we've gotten through that and we've really explored that part of our bodies, I send funny videos to him. So like that's the extent of Johnny and I's friendship when it needs to be, or we'll be personal and share things. And I think that's also something that's important about friendship. Trust is such a big part of friendship that I think people are lacking in for obvious reasons. I think, going back to social media, it has cultivated the idea that you can't trust anything because everybody's outing everybody, but over whatever thing it is, because somebody got upset and they're like, "Oh man, Greg, didn't like my art on Tuesday." Like, okay, man, let's calm down. Don't worry about it, right? But I think trust is very important to have in a friendship. Like, do I look at you and Matt, Gary, and go, well, I could tell them that I'm sad. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was important. That's an important part of what we have is like, okay, I can reach out to you. But it's also understanding, it's leaning, not burdening. That's the other thing. I'm like, you don't want to just have a friend to only constantly lean on, and you want to rely on them. That's an important thing. Be reliable as well. All of these things are to tell you not to overwhelm, but to think about and consider and understand the realistic aspects of friendship that are there. It isn't, 27 Dresses or Clueless or any of these movies that have this idea of what a friendship is, and you're having slumber parties 24/7. It isn't. It is Mac being like, "Hey, you getting on? Yeah, I'll be on. 1:30? Yeah, okay. That's great. Can't make it this week. Sorry." And then throughout the week, we just message back. And I mean, when we are on Power Chat, fucking best time. Love it. Or there's the far end of the spectrum from where Johnny is on one side, Mac is in the middle. There's Ben. Ben and I almost every fucking night are in Party Chat talking for hours about fucking anything. And I think that is also an amazing way to have a friendship, but it's also, how do I maintain that? I maintain it because, listen, you got to keep in mind, everybody's going to disagree about something or another. You guys talked about it. You disagree about it, you got to remember, put yourself aside. Don't let everything be what you want it to be, because I think that's a lot of the times where I get lost in the shit, where I'm like, no, I'm right about this. I'm right. I'm fucking wrong. I'm wrong, and I need to accept that I'm wrong. I need to move on. And I think that's where Ben and I meet in the middle of, like, we agree on mostly everything. And then sometimes we'll be like, fucking no, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Karate Kid is a villain. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut for the friends out there. But like, it is that thing of, okay, we had this stupid fucking argument, but afterwards we are joking and we're joking around, and we always have to know that, like, yeah, we could argue, but there's love and there's foundation, and remembering that and accepting we're not going to agree on everything, and that's fine. You don't have to. Don't worry. That doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person. Just is. But yeah, friendship is about testing the waters and putting yourself out there and just managing what you can manage. Don't put everything into something in the get-go. You'll build it over time. It'll all fall into place, and you'll understand their sense of humor. You'll understand their needs. You'll understand what kind of friend they are. I've had friends that are so dependent on somebody else being there that it can feel overwhelming, and that can turn you off as well, because, it's a weird phrase to use for it, but friendship is a trial and error. Like, you're gonna have failures of friendships. There's just no way around saying that. Like, some people, their personalities just not made for each other. They're just not there. And even if it's months into it and you just realize that, don't worry. Do what's best for you and them, because a lot of the time, if you stay in something and you're not feeling it, that's just going to drag them down later on, because you're going to be resentful or whatever have you. So just keep mind of what you're doing. Put yourself out there. Try it. Listen, I'm an introvert. I don't talk to anybody offline unless I've known them for 10 years. All right. I'm a cave dweller. You want to talk about a vault dweller? I'm deep in the caves. I'm hearing echoes from bats, screeching in the distance, little drops of water, and then I go, come out every once in a while. But what I do, it might not work out. But what if it does? That's what you got to think. What if it does work out? That's important.
Yeah. So with me, I mean, I'm really antisocial. I'm probably, if you put it in a scale, I'm probably like 70% antisocial, 30% social. But I think what Sean said before, and you've said as well, there's no science to this. You can do this to this, you're going to get a pal out of it. I think for me, throughout my life, obviously, I was at a primary school and then a high school. All my friendships all came naturally. They're all totally natural things. Like even me and Sean were in the same school for 4 years before we even talked to each other. And the first conversation we had was about Fallout. That was our first conversation, and it was just like that moment. It was like, this guy's all right, That the first conversations, that was literally the first time we talked about it in 4 years. We've seen each other, aware of each other, and then the first time we talked about is Fallout and how about this new Fallout game. And then after that, it just blossomed into like this thing. I think what you're trying to look for in a friendship, well, the things that I look for in a friendship, I should say, is more like similar personalities. I think that's what I always go for. I mean, I would say even my wife's pretty similar personality. She's quite social, but she's a similar personality as in like moral compass, I feel like, as well. Similar opinions and everything, and it's no, I don't put myself for like, I'm not going to go for an extravagant person when I'm not an extravagant person, kind of thing, And I think that's what I look for. Like me and Sean, as Sean said, we disagree about stuff. We disagree about stuff all the time, but it just is what it is. These are two different people. These are two different personalities, but you're not going to agree on everything. But at the end of the day, I know I can send a rude joke to Sean, and Sean, right, like a laughing faces back, because that's the sort of moral compass we've got with each other, and it's just how we know each other. And as we're saying, like, well, I mean, even like when we don't agree with each other, there's been times that me and Sean's had like proper arguments and stuff like that. And as Sean says, you have a cooling off period of 2 days. But then see after that 2 days, it's like, right, dickhead, what you having for dinner? That's that. You just move on. It's just it's all about give and take with our friendship. As Sean said, being there for each other is probably the most important thing. I mean, I don't know how many conversations we've had where Sean's phoned me or vice versa, and it's like to talk about something. Like when I had my mental breakdown. I think Sean was like the second person I phoned that day. It was like, here, I need to talk to you, and and I just talked to him about it, and he was like, fuck man, I didn't know you were like this, and you should have talked to me and all that kind of stuff, and being supportive as anybody would, but it's just knowing that person's there for you, and the really good friends end up turning more into family. I would say Sean's more like, it sounds horrible, but Sean's more like a brother to me than probably my own brothers. I talk to Sean much more than I do my own brothers. That's without a doubt. Not even a conversation about it. Without a doubt, I talk to Sean and I have more stuff in common with Sean than I do my own family. And I think that just it's just as what it is. It's just that it was a total natural friendship that happened, a circumstance, and just with two years were in the right place at the right time. That's been it. And I think moving on and maintaining it, it's been. I mean, when we were younger, we used to always stay at each other's houses. It used to always be a wee funny joke in my family. They'd be like, "Oh, it's so and so's party. It's my big sister's party. My big sister's we're having a birthday party here in the house. Is Sean and Siobhan coming?" Like Sean was always in that conversation. Like it was always like a relationship with Sean as well. It wasn't just my wife, my girlfriend and wife. which was always just that added thing. As I said, me and Sean, we were always staying with each other. It would always be like I'd stay a weekend with my girlfriend at the time, or my wife now, and then the next week I'd be like, I'm staying at Sean's or Sean's staying at mine. So I think for a younger age, that's how we really got to know each other and we played games. Games was a huge part of your friendship growing up. And it still has always been that way. You know, it's occasional now as we got older. We're just busy. It's just I've got 2 children. Sean's really busy with his job and stuff like that. The downtime that we get is so special to us that, you know, it's hard to get yourself energised to be going out and going to these different stuff. So I think that was the reason that we made the podcast in the first. That was one of the reasons I wanted to make a podcast in the first place. It was kind of COVID times and stuff like that, and it was like, well, this is an opportunity we can actually sit and talk to each other. Like nothing else happening, and it's just kind of like the older days where we would just be sitting shooting the shit for like over a game usually, but this is just talking to each other face to face, and that's a kind of compromise that we've made. And just an extra step to this relationship that we've got now. But it just changes with time. I think we always try and arrange days out and stuff like that as well. But sometimes it just doesn't always work. Just as I say, commitments and whatever else. We do see each other. We probably know as much as I would like, but it just is what it is. It just relationships change as they get older, and me and Sean's both lost friends. No lost friends, they no died or anything like that. But we've just some relationships just don't last, and that's just the way it is. We lost a really good pal that I would have said, but he just never really contacted us, and we never really contacted him back. And that's a 2-way street that you need to have in a relationship, and that's the 2-way street we do have in this relationship. As Sean says, we can go maybe a week with no talking to each other, and then Sean will text me or I'll text him and like, where the fuck have you been? You know, what you been up to, cunt? Like, you know, how are you not texting me? And then that just starts a conversation, and that might be us for 3 days, you know, a wee conversation, then just move on to the next thing. But I don't know. I can't really say any more. I think Beefy's covered it so well. I'm not fucking going last again with these conversations.
You get to sweep it up. It's not as you just get to sweep up and fill in. You get to draw off everything that's been said before. So, it's easy.
To quickly add on to your point, Gary, of messaging each other, and that's a 2-way street. I think people can get caught in their own head of like, oh, I'm embarrassed of something I said or did, and they'll just never reach out. And then the other person is probably also thinking that, and that's something to keep in mind. Like, take the initiative. If you feel like that, if you're embarrassed, just lean into it and put yourself out there. Again, that's always like the key word, putting yourself out there to keep it going, because I know I've had friendships that are like, oh, I fucked up. They're not messaging me, so they must hate me. And it's like, no, they're just not messaging me because they think I hate them, kind of thing. And it's like, oh, that's horrible. You know, you're doing this weird dance, and it's like no one's dancing. You're just sitting in a corner drinking a Kool-Aid, sad. You can see each other across the way, but you're just like, I guess I'll just sit here instead of doing anything. Make a move, go on the dance floor.
Yeah. I know it's weird. It's weird, like talking about this, because I've got such a wee tight knit friendships. Like I've got Sean and Ryan. That's kind of like my two. I feel like real life, like friends, and it's weird to like having a conversation about how to make friends, because I don't really go out my way to make friends. You know, like my work, for example, you know, I'm friendly with like 95% of the people in my work, and I'll talk and I know about their lives and whatever else, and I'll ask questions and etc. But it's kind of that step. It's like, but I'll probably not really ever go to these. You know what I mean? Whereas I don't know, it's strange. It's strange. I think I'm just I'm antisocial, as I said. So it's just trying to find that I only need a couple of pals. I only need a couple of good pals. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what I look for. As a person who's more antisocial, that's what I look for. Whereas Sean wants to be pals with his grand next door and all that.
Try and find humor, man. That's what I do. I'm like, if I can laugh with you, friends. Yeah. I love
definitely opens the door.
Dick pics from Johnny and laughing my head off, you know?
Oh my God. Hoodie's going to get inundated with dick pics now. Everybody wants to send their dick pics.
Man. Friendship's great. Try and find it.
Yeah, definitely. So that, I mean, is everything else anything else to say about the last topic before we close?
I don't think we should be friends anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Podcast cancelled.
Easy as that. Imagine that. Imagine that. All right, okay, good, great. So, listen, like I said at the start of the episode, it's been a new thing for us, and we did front load the episode with a lot of a chat about what have we been playing. We probably need to we take that out if we're doing some, depending on the topics, I would say. But we maybe need to take that out because it's too long in the tooth. Right now, at the time we're recording, it's like 1:30. So I'd prefer if we're going kind of strong with some of these, then we really need to fine tune them a wee bit. But I think I've really enjoyed. I think all of us have really enjoyed this in terms of being able to bring 3 separate points off of the table. I think Gary had mentioned the games that we hate and love that others don't, quite some time ago as a potential episode, and as much as it might have worked, it could also have possibly had that kind of an entire episode of leaning more towards a negativity type thing, which it doesn't always sit right with me as a listener. So I don't feel like that's something that we should be doing as a creator, having something as negative focus, but there is a place for it. So this kind of setting is ideal for it, where you can get in and you can really analyze it and have that conversation, and then go into other things. Not that the social media was an uplifting conversation to follow up with, but it just happened to be the next thing. So yeah, we've brought 3 separate topics, and there'll be loads of different things and permutations and stuff as we get better and move forward. And hopefully this is something that interests everybody that's checking it out. And again, like we said, if it's the first time that you've listened before and somehow suddenly you're an Uber fan, check out the merch store. We have obviously we're on social media, on Twitter and things at the Vault Dwellers, the Vault Dweller Pod. So go and check out that. There's some links and stuff for some fantastic merch as well. Which it's going to be ever changing throughout the years as Hoodie and Gary kind of populates that, because that's something that we're all excited about developing as we grow, because we're growing slow, but that's just the nature of it, because we're 18 episodes in. We're only a couple of episodes away from episode 20. I think we've possibly only, I don't know what, a month or that out from being a year of doing this. 2 months. So 2 months away from doing this for a year. So and that's pretty cool, like having that kind of level to start with, because we thought that we would only really be doing an episode like once a month, and we're actually over 20 episodes if you count the bonus ones that we've got in there outside of the main episode. So pretty cool that we've managed to get to this point, and really excited to see how we develop and how we fine tune this kind of episode as well, because even I'm bloating it at this end when I should just be wrapping up.
I'm circling back just to blow it a little bit more.
Yeah,
Hoodie and Gary repopulating.
Yeah.
The store. You and me, Gary.
That's it. Coming together.
Let's see pictures of that.
Johnny, get on it. What are you waiting for?
That'd be a t-shirt and a half. or maybe just half. Maybe just half a t-shirt. Okay, right. Thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Oh no, I haven't done this in quite a while.
I'm keeping this in.
Oh no, I did it again. Oh boy, you know what? That's on topic. All right, have a great day.
Goodbye.
Oh dear, I'm going to keep it going because I need to keep it going for Gary's recording. But that was pretty good.
Your sign off was so good that I was convinced it was the end. I forgot Gary has to do the goodbye, children.
We even have a bit in the Google Doc to tell you.
I know. The worst part is I looked at it too long ago. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Vault Dwellers Podcast. You can keep up with Gary Moore at Gary Moore's Art over on Instagram. Keep up with myself, Twitter, on Twitch at MrMac92, and you can't keep up with Hoodie at The Penny Marvels over on Instagram. A very special shout out to Al the Predator Tribesman for creating the intro and outro music. Thanks again for listening. Take care. Bye.